I had lived at the country estate for 10 years, so long that I could barely remember what my parents looked like. My wet nurse often told me that I was the legitimate second daughter of the Wang family and should have grown up surrounded by silk and luxury. Everything, she said, was because of that wretched fortune-teller. Whenever she mentioned him, her eyes would redden. She would want to curse him thoroughly, but because she was afraid I might learn such ugly language, she would only mutter the same few phrases over and over. Damned man, black-hearted, rotten to the core. I would curl up beside her, smiling as I looked at the sky, and counted on my fingers how many days remained before elder brother returned. I wondered what curious thing he would bring me this time. The estate was very, very far from the capital. When I first came here, I had spent several days in a carriage. Once I arrived, several fierce older female servants guarded the gate, saying that by order of master and madam, I was not permitted to leave. And so I was confined to this estate for 10 full years. I could not read or write. I could not compose poetry or essays, nor could I sing, play instruments, or dance. I was not even good at cooking. Yet my wet nurse always praised me for being obedient. She said I grew flowers beautifully, and that I was the best young lady in the world. Elder brother was equally generous with his praise, calling me the best little sister in the world. He was my wet nurse's son and had come to the estate with me at the very beginning. Unlike me, who was restricted in every possible way, no one controlled him. He could do as he pleased. At first he followed the village hunters into the mountains and learned their skills. Later he traveled the martial world with others and worked as an escort for merchant caravans. By now he had married, had children, and settled in the village. My sister-in-law was the daughter of the hunter who had taught him, and the two of them were very affectionate. Wet nurse, how many more days before elder brother comes back? He has been away for more than a month this time. He should be home soon. I gazed at the deep blue sky. It should have been boundless, yet because I was trapped inside this small square courtyard, even the sky seemed painfully small. I remembered all the times elder brother had returned and told me about broad rivers and lakes, dense forests, bustling streets crowded with people, lively temple fairs, countless delicacies, and all kinds of rare and wondrous things. 10 years had passed. My parents had never once allowed me to return home, nor had they ever come to visit me. The estate provided my food, clothing, and daily necessities. I could not enjoy exotic delicacies or dress in brocade and silk, but at least I was never left hungry or cold. When I was little, I did not understand what it meant to be treated differently by one's own parents. When I grew older, I overheard some idle old women saying that I was a jinx and that people should stay away from me lest they be infected by my bad luck. Then I understood. People naturally seek good fortune and avoid disaster. My parents and relatives kept their distance from me. I had suffered because of it, but perhaps not as much as one might imagine, because I had my wet nurse and I had elder brother. This time, elder brother brought back many unusual things, including a withered potted camellia that was apparently called the 18 Scholars. I knew nothing about such elegant names. I only thought the plant looked pitiful, so I carefully trimmed its roots, replaced the soil, watered it, and set it by the window. Then I used a small cloth to wipe the few leaves it still had. I waited for it to put out new branches and tender shoots. Wet nurse, it's alive! I urged her to hurry and tell elder brother that I had managed to revive the camellia he brought home. Before leaving, my wet nurse stroked my face. Her eyes were red as she said, "I'll be back soon. Be good and stay home." All right. I had once tried to sneak outside. After I was caught and brought back, those older female servants did not punish me, but they bullied my wet nurse terribly. I could not defeat them, and there was nothing I could do to stop them. From then on, I never tried to escape again, because I knew that whenever I made a mistake, my wet nurse would be the one to suffer. On the day the Wang family finally sent people to fetch me, the camellia had grown lush and green. I heard the messenger say many things, but hardly a word entered my ears, because she was lying. She said my parents missed me and had specially sent her to bring me home. I might have been inexperienced, but I was not stupid. I could still tell truth from lies. My wet nurse, however, was overjoyed and believed my years of hardship had finally come to an end. I did not have the heart to tell her that returning home might only mean moving from one cage into another. That was why I refused to let her come with me. I was afraid that if she saw me suffer, grief would drive her to do something that could not be undone. "Miss, why won't you let me go with you?" Elder brother often had to travel to make a living. My sister-in-law was pregnant, and their young son still needed someone to care for him. I told her, "I'm going home to enjoy a better life. You don't need to worry." Once I've settled down, I'll send someone to bring you and elder brother to the capital so we can be reunited." On the day I left, I kept smiling until I climbed into the carriage, as though I were full of anticipation and genuinely delighted to be going home. Only after I was inside the carriage and saw the potted camellia tucked in the corner did my tears finally spill over. In this lifetime, I did not know whether I would ever have the chance to see my wet nurse and elder brother again. The journey back to the capital followed the same road I had taken years ago. After several days and nights, we finally arrived. There were no parents eagerly waiting to welcome me, nor servants respectfully lining up to receive me. When I was brought before Mother, she glittered with jewelry and wore magnificent clothes. Her appearance was dignified and gentle, yet unmistakably noble. Beside her, a beautiful young woman tugged at her sleeve and pleaded coquettishly, "Mother, please agree, I'm begging you." Mother smiled, gently pinched her cheek and said affectionately, all right, we'll do as you wish. Tomorrow I'll have the head tailor come to the residence and measure you for new clothes." "Thank you, Mother. You're the best." Their intimacy was effortless and natural, as though no one else existed. I stood quietly to one side without saying a word. I had thought I would feel hurt or sad, but instead I only watched calmly, my heart utterly still. "Mother, is she my younger sister?" The richly dressed young woman walked over and swept a disdainful gaze over me from head to toe. I wore plain coarse clothes. They were new, but compared with what she had on, the difference was like heaven and earth. Mother glanced at me as well. With a single look, her brows knitted, and the dislike in her eyes was obvious. She said indifferently, "She is your younger sister." "Mother. Elder sister." "Enough. Danhua, take her away." After thinking for a moment, Mother asked, "Is there an empty courtyard beside Yusin's?" Danhua replied, "Madam, the courtyard beside eldest miss is occupied by the young cousin. There is still a small vacant courtyard in Tongyuan." "Then put her in Tongyuan. Danhua, take her there." I had no idea what kind of place Tongyuan was, and I had no right to choose or demand anything anyway. Mother disliked me. Eldest sister looked down on me. Even Danhua, a mere maid, showed me no respect. Only after arriving did I learn that Tongyuan was where the concubine-born daughters of the household lived. My little courtyard was not large, containing only 3 rooms, and the air inside smelled damp and musty. Danhua ordered people to clean and arrange the furnishings while I stood in the courtyard, holding my bundle, waiting in silence. Someone secretly peered at me, then quickly ducked out of sight. No one invited me to sit in their courtyard for a while or have a cup of tea. "Second miss, everything has been cleaned up." I walked into the room. At best, one might call it simple and elegant. At worst, it was plainly poor and bare. I did not mind. Since I had been brought here, I would simply accept my place and live quietly. I was alone and powerless, unable to resist anyone. Obeying the rules and keeping my head down was better than being beaten, forced to kneel, or made to stand as punishment. Before long, Danhua brought 2 maids and an older woman, saying they would serve me, and that I could order them about if I needed anything. I could tell that none of them wanted to serve me, though they had no choice. I sat in the room for quite a while, yet no one came in to pour tea or bring water. Outside I heard whispers. "I heard the girl in there is a jinx. Everyone who stays close to her dies." "No, I can't stay here. What if she curses me to death?" "I don't want to stay either." The 2 maids hurried away. Only the older woman came slowly into the room and bowed. "Would miss like some water?" I shook my head. I did not want to make things difficult for her. "Please help bring in my luggage. I also have a potted camellia. Could you bring it here first?" "Yes," she answered and left. Soon afterward, a round-faced maid with a very proper manner entered. "This servant, Siu, greets you, miss." I acknowledged her and asked her to prepare water. After such a long, bumpy carriage journey, I still had not bathed properly. I wanted to wash and rest. By then I was both thirsty and hungry. At Mother's place, I had not even been given a sip of water or a bite to eat before being sent away in disgust to this little courtyard. I thought that if I slept, at least I would no longer feel the hunger or thirst. "Yes, miss." Sia quickly brought a pot of tea so I could quench my thirst, then fetched some pastries and fruit for me to eat. By the time the older woman led people in with my camellia and luggage, the hot water was ready as well. After I finished bathing, Siu helped dry my hair. Mrs. Hair has been cared for very well. Thinking of how much time and care my wet nurse had spent keeping my hair smooth and black, I smiled softly, genuinely happy. There had been no welcoming banquet for my return. No member of the family came to visit me. Mother gave me neither spending money nor any reward. My food and other daily provisions were exactly the same as those of the other girls in Tongyuan. There was nothing special about my treatment. The entire residence soon knew that I, the legitimate second daughter, was unloved by my parents and disliked by my two elder brothers and eldest sister. I had no intention of competing for anything. Before I left the estate, elder brother had given me 20 taels of silver, enough to last me quite a while. I simply waited in silence to see where an unknown fate would carry me. Half a month after I returned home, Seed brought me 5 taels of my monthly allowance. Looking at the silver in my hand, I smiled happily. If I was frugal, I could save 60 taels a year. That would be enough to buy several mu of farmland in the countryside and build a small house. Later, I could find a way to send the money to elder brother and ask him to arrange everything in advance. If the day ever came when I had nowhere else to go, at least I would have a place to shelter rather than ending up homeless on the streets. Siu advised me to take out 1 tael and use it to reward the servants. I looked at her and she simply waited quietly. For you? Siu shook her head. Not for us, miss. For the people outside Tanyuan, the kitchen staff, the storeroom, the accounts office, and the servants who attend madam. When she finished, pity flickered in her eyes as she looked at me. I understood why. Since I had no favor in the household, I naturally had to be more careful than the others. Otherwise, my food portions might be reduced, hot water might never reach me, or it might arrive only after it had gone cold. The monthly supplies might be cut short or replaced with damaged goods. I could not afford to offend those who fawned on power. Though it pained me deeply, I still handed 1 tael to Siu. She took the silver and left. Apart from her, there was another maid who rarely showed her face, and I did not care where she went or what she did. The older woman, Madame Huang, also said little to me beyond carrying out her daily duties. The only person I could rely on was Siu. She was capable and efficient, very skilled at sewing, and meticulous about every detail of my daily life. I never missed any of my 3 meals. As for fruit and pastries, whether I received them depended on luck. If there were some, I ate them. If not, I did not care. The only thing I truly could not bear was the boredom. In the countryside, I could grow flowers and tend the plants in the courtyard. Back at the Wang residence, I had nothing to do at all. I once tried to interact with my sisters, but whenever they saw me, they hurried away and sometimes even slammed their doors shut right in front of me. I understood. They looked down on me and were also afraid because I was different from them. Since I knew I was unwelcome, I stopped going out. Every day, I simply sat by my camellia, talked to it, and wiped its leaves. Watching it grow healthier and more luxuriant each day made me feel a little happier as well. When Danhua arrived with servants carrying clothes and jewelry, I immediately understood that my parents had brought me back for a reason. Madam has been very busy lately and simply forgot about Miss for a while, Danhua explained at length. I only nodded lightly to show that I understood. After a moment of silence, Danhua continued, Miss, please wake early tomorrow. Dress and groom yourself properly. This servant will come to escort you then. All right. I stared blankly at the magnificent brocade garments. Siu hesitated for a long time before finally saying, This servant has made inquiries. Madam brought Miss back because she intends to have you marry into the Gu family in place of eldest Miss. I looked at Siu. She continued, Eldest Miss is betrothed to the Gu family's 3rd young master. When he was younger, 3rd young master was famous throughout the capital for both talent and looks. He achieved first place in all 3 levels of the imperial examinations, and was personally selected by His Majesty as the top scholar. Unfortunately, during an imperial hunt in the eastern suburbs 2 years ago, he was injured and poisoned while saving the emperor. The wound struck a vital place, leaving him unable to walk. Now he rarely leaves the residence, and even when he does, he must use a wheelchair. After 3rd young master's accident, the Gu family once came to discuss the marriage, but eldest Miss firmly refused to marry him. The Gu family hinted that the engagement could be dissolved, but master and madam could not bear to give up such a connection. That is why they brought Miss back. The top scholar? I did not understand and asked, why me? What about the other sisters in the residence? Couldn't one of them do it? C replied, You are the legitimate daughter. The others are. I understood before she finished. Eldest sister did not want to marry a disabled man who might die at any moment. My parents were unwilling to sever their connection with the Gu family. They had spent 2 years trying and failing to change eldest sister's mind, so in the end they dragged me home to take her place. If not for this marriage, they probably would never have remembered me at all. Before I had even met the Gu family's 3rd young master, eldest sister summoned me. She frowned coldly. Can you read? What about the zither, go calligraphy and painting? I shook my head. She sneered. You do not even know the 3-character classic? No. Her face darkened. Hold out your hand. I did not understand, but I still extended it. She immediately swung a ruler down across my palm. Crack! A sharp burning pain shot through my hand. Tears sprang instantly to my eyes. In the countryside, although I was not allowed outside, my wet nurse loved me dearly and had never scolded or beaten me. Besides, I did not even know what I had done wrong. Hold out your hand. I clutched my throbbing palm and refused to extend it again. She snapped angrily. Give me your hand. You cannot even recite the three-character classic. Am I not allowed to beat you for that? She called me useless. I admitted that I was ignorant, but I refused to accept being beaten for it. Was it my fault that I did not know the three-character classic? Had my parents not been the ones who sent me away to the estate? No one had taught me, so naturally I did not know it. If someone had taught me, I was certain I could have learned. On what grounds then could she hit me? How dare you speak to me like that? Furious, she reached out to grab me. I shoved her away and ran. Catch her! Hurry and catch her for me. I ran as fast as I could, as though ghosts were chasing me from behind. I was not afraid of causing a scene because I had done nothing wrong. Had I asked to bring bad luck upon my parents? Had I begged them to give birth to me when they had me? Had they ever asked what I wanted? Had they ever asked whether I wanted them as my parents? I did not know. Was not knowing the three-character classic also somehow my fault? At that tiny estate, I had already been as obedient as anyone possibly could. Wang Yuan, just you wait! Wang Yushin's shriek echoed through her vast and luxurious courtyard. It was ugly to hear. So much for a refined young lady. So much for the grace of a noble household. I ran all the way back to Tanyuan. The moment Siyu saw me, she hurried over. Seeing my face covered in tears, she asked anxiously, Miss, what happened? I glanced at her, and the tears I had been holding back poured out even harder. Let's go inside first. Siyu supported me into the courtyard. When she saw how swollen my hand was, she lowered her voice and asked, Did eldest Miss hit you? Why would she strike Miss? She demanded that I recite the three-character classic, but I did not know it. Siyu's face twitched several times before she cursed under her breath. She is afraid of marrying the Gu family's third young master, so she is taking her anger out on Miss. Hearing this, I immediately understood why Wang Yushin had deliberately found an excuse to make things difficult for me. I hated her. Shiyu did her best to find some ice to press against my palm, but my hand only became more swollen. Miss, it will be all right. It already hurts much less, I lied to Shiyu. In truth, my hand still hurt terribly. That night, the pain kept me from sleeping properly, and my entire body grew hot and uncomfortable. Siyu, I'm thirsty. Siyu rose drowsily to pour me water, but the moment she touched my forehead, she jolted awake. Miss, you have a fever. This servant will go find someone to call a physician. I could not stop her, but she clearly failed to find one. When she returned, her head hung dejectedly. Miss, I am sorry. It's all right, Siyu, it is only a slight fever. I'll be fine after a good sleep. Siyu soaked a cloth in cool water and placed it on my forehead, changing it again and again. Half conscious with fever, I repeatedly mistook her for my wet nurse and murmured, Wet nurse, if I could choose, I would rather have stayed in the countryside with you. You love me, an elder brother spoils me. That is 100, 1,000 times better than returning to the Wang family. But I have no right to choose. I do not even have the right to resist. By dawn, after sweating heavily, I seemed to have recovered. Only my hand remained swollen and bruised. I told Siyu that I wanted porridge. She agreed, so that morning's breakfast included an extra bowl of plain congee and a plate of pickled vegetables. After breakfast, Danhua arrived. When she saw that I had neither changed clothes nor dressed my hair, her expression immediately darkened with displeasure. Second miss, come here. This servant will arrange your hair beautifully. I did not move. Siyu nudged me gently, and I could only sigh. I knew that if I stubbornly refused to obey, perhaps I would escape punishment, but Siyu would certainly suffer in my place. So I got up and sat down. The hairstyle Danhua arranged did not suit my age at all. My face still carried the innocence of a child, unable to support such a mature style, much less the dazzling hairpins she inserted. Danhua pretended to praise me, but after a few forced compliments, even she seemed unable to continue. Second miss, let us go. I was taken to the front courtyard, but I was not allowed into the main hall. Instead, I had to sit in a small side room and wait. Only when father and mother sent for me would I be permitted to enter. Danhua kept glancing toward the doorway. Siyu repeatedly straightened my clothes and adjusted my hair. She looked both anxious and impatient, several times starting to speak before stopping herself. I knew what she wanted to say. The clothes did not fit properly, and neither the hairstyle nor jewelry suited me. But did I have any choice? Since returning, father and my two elder brothers had never once come to see me. Mother had seen me only once. Eldest sister had seen me twice. once to look down on me, and once to deliberately humiliate and beat me. Sometimes I wondered why I had to obey them and let them arrange my life however they pleased. Yet what else could I do? "Second miss, master and madam ask you to come in." I rose and walked very slowly. The laughter and conversation grew closer and closer, until it seemed almost loud enough to split my ears. The instant I appeared at the entrance of the main hall, every pair of eyes inside turned toward me. They openly sized me up, whispered to the people beside them, and made endless comments. "Third brother, look quickly." I followed the voice and saw the Gu family's third young master, Gu Chengyan, seated in a wheelchair. He was looking at me as well. His gaze was gentle and kind, filled even with pity and a trace of reluctance to see me placed in such a situation. My thoughts suddenly dissolved into confusion, then blankness. Mother's voice cut through it. "Why is that girl standing there in a daze? Come forward and greet your elders." I mechanically stepped forward and bowed, but I could not even manage the proper forms of address. I saw a flash of dislike on my parents' faces. Several elders of the Gu family frowned as well. They merely told me there was no need for ceremony. It seemed they were not pleased with me either. "Second Miss Wang." It was third young Master Gu's voice. I looked toward him. He spoke gently. "May I have a few private words with you?" I did not know how to answer, but once again I had no real choice. Mother smiled. "Danhua, take young Master Gu and second miss to the pavilion. The flowers are lovely now. Admiring them over tea will be pleasant." A young man in brocade pushed third young Master Gu's wheelchair, though he kept sneaking glances at me. He muttered softly to his third brother, "She looks so young." "Third brother, do you truly mean to marry her?" Gu Chengyan said nothing. When we reached the pavilion, he sent everyone else till only he and I remained inside. He told me to sit, so I sat. Since he asked nothing at first, I said nothing either. "Were these clothes newly made?" I nodded. "Mother had Danhua bring them yesterday." He smiled, and his smile was very beautiful. "How old are you?" "I turned 14 this past March." "What about you, young master?" "It has been 2 years since my coming-of-age ceremony." "Then how old does that make you?" I racked my brain but could not work it out. 22, he supplied. I gave a small 8 years older than me, the same age as elder brother. "Did you always live in the countryside before this?" I nodded. "Can you read?" I shook my head. Remembering the swollen palm from yesterday, I quietly asked, "Young master, do you know many characters?" "A few more than the average person." "Then do you know the 3-character classic?" "I do." "Could you recite some of it for me?" "Why?" I sat up straight and said seriously, "Yesterday eldest sister summoned me and demanded that I recite the 3-character classic. I could not, so she struck my hand with a ruler until it swelled. I held out my hand for him to see. Against my pale skin, the swelling and bruises were painfully obvious. "Please recite it for me, young master. I will remember it carefully. The next time she asks, I can recite it, and then she will have no excuse to hit me again." But that was not the main reason. What I really wanted was for Gu Chengyan to know exactly how awful my elder sister was. Siu had told me that he was a very good man. If he truly was such a good man, then my elder sister was not worthy of him at all. "Was there no tutor in the countryside to teach you to read?" I shook my head. At that small estate, there had only been me, my wet nurse, and the old women assigned to watch over me. None of them could read. After a pause, I asked seriously, "Young master, did you come here today to look me over? Do you truly intend to marry me?" "But I have not yet reached my coming-of-age ceremony. I am still young." My wet nurse said that before a girl's hairpin ceremony, she is still a child. Only after that does she become a young woman, and only then can marriage properly be discussed. Third young Master Gu did not answer my question. Instead he asked, "What about you? Seeing me as I am now, are you willing to marry me?" I thought for a long time before answering. "After I marry, will I be allowed to go outside? Can young master teach me to read and write? Do you hit people? And could you bring my wet nurse and elder brother to live with us?" Gu Chengyan laughed when he heard this. Slowly he said, "Do you know that I can no longer walk? The imperial physicians say that if no antidote is found, I may have only a few years left to live." I stared blankly and shook my head. "I knew none of that." "No one told you?" "Since being brought back, I have met mother only once. Today is the first time I have seen father. Other than that, I have simply lived with the other girls in Tongyuan." Gu Chengyan fell silent. He leaned to search through a pouch hanging from his wheelchair and took out a porcelain box, handing it to me. "This ointment eases swelling and pain. I have used it myself. If you do not mind, you may have it." Of course I do not mind. My palm burned and throbbed miserably. I accepted it at once and beamed at him. "Thank you, third young master. It is a small matter. Second miss need not be so polite." He looked at me for a long time, until my face grew red even though I did not understand why. He seemed to be weighing something very carefully as if considering an important decision. At last he said, "Second miss, today's meeting is indeed about our marriage. If you do not wish to marry me, I will report it to the elders and have the engagement cancelled." I tightened my grip around the porcelain box. "Third young master, I cannot refuse. I was sent away when I was 4. For 10 years, no one asked after me. They brought me back now only so I could marry you. My parents will not allow me to say no. If you break off the engagement, I will have only 2 roads left. One is to be sent back to that estate and imprisoned there for the rest of my life. The other is to be married off carelessly to someone else. Being returned to the estate might actually be the better outcome. If they gave me to some old man as a concubine, that would be true hell. And you are willing to accept that? What difference does unwillingness make? I am powerless. Since returning here, I have been entirely alone. I have only 2 maids and 1 older servant with me, and even their indenture contracts are not in my hands. In truth, I am still completely alone. I cannot read. The moment I came home, eldest sister began making things difficult for me. She demanded that I read the 3-character classic. I had never learned it, so how could I read it? She did not need a real reason. She simply beat me. Last night I developed a high fever and drifted in and out of consciousness. Shiyu ran everywhere looking for a physician, but she could not get one. Even today no one has asked whether I am feeling better. The clothes I am wearing are far too large and do not fit me at all. The jewelry looks pretty from a distance, but all of it has already faded. They ignored me for 10 years. Now they brought me home only to marry me off and be done with me. They do not care how I feel. I am not resisting because I consider this repayment for the simple fact that they gave me life. Once I marry, perhaps I will never have to return here again. Third young master, if you do not already have someone you love, then please choose me. I do not eat much and I am not particular about clothes. My temperament is not spoiled or difficult either. I may not be a cultivated noble lady. I cannot play the zither, play go, write calligraphy, paint, compose poetry, or write fine essays. But I know how to grow flowers and care for plants. I am very good at it. Anything I tend grows well. Gu Chengyan asked. Just now you did not seem very enthusiastic about this marriage. Why are you suddenly willing? If I do not marry you, I have no idea what my future will become. Will they send me back to that estate? Will they marry me to some random man? They might even give me to an old man as a concubine. I am afraid. More than anything, I am afraid I will never see my wet nurse and elder brother again. You said that you are poisoned and may not live long. Then while you are still alive, I will do my best to care for you. When you eventually pass away, I hope you will say a few words on my behalf. Please ask your elders to let me live freely afterward. Even entering a convent would be acceptable. At least then I could live an honorable life, no longer bound by this so-called debt of gratitude for being born. The garden around us overflowed with blossoms. A light breeze carried their fragrance through the pavilion. After saying those words, I fell silent. Gu Chengyan was silent as well. A while later, he stood and bowed to me. Since second miss does not despise me, Chengyan is willing to accept this marriage. After we wed, I will certainly teach you to read and write. Before I die, I will also arrange a proper path for you, so that afterward you will no longer be restrained by anyone and can live your own peaceful and happy life. My eyes reddened uncontrollably when I heard him. After my wet nurse and elder brother, he was the 3rd person who had ever made me feel warmth and trust. I hurriedly said, "Then you must live for a very long time. I hope you find an antidote soon. It would be best if you lived to 100. On the day Gu Chengyan and I formally became engaged, Wang Xin stormed into my room, smashed everything she could reach, and pointed at my face while cursing me. Someone like you thinks she is worthy? Worthy of him? She moved to hit me, but the servant stopped her in time. Frightened, I shrank into a corner, trembling. After her first burst of rage is past, she sneered. One is a fool, and the other is a sickly cripple about to die. You truly are a match made in heaven. I wanted to argue, but Siyu quickly covered my mouth. Both Siyu and I knew that if I dared talk back, neither of us would escape a beating that day. Before leaving, Wang Yuxin viciously threw one last sentence at me. Do you think that because you came back and are marrying Gu Chengyan, you will really be the Wang family's second young lady? Do you think father and mother will love you? You are nothing but a jinx who brings suffering to your parents. No one will ever love you. I did not agree with her. I had never expected my parents to love me. Whether they did or not, what did it matter? It was not as though no one loved me. I still had my wet nurse and elder brother. They had always loved and protected me. After my engagement, my status in the Wang household did not change at all. I remained an unnecessary person in that family. Mother never summoned me to give any instructions. I heard that the steward handled everything concerning my dowry. Whatever they gave me, I would accept. I had no desire to fight over it, because I knew fighting would gain me nothing. A tailor did come to measure me for my wedding clothes, and the finished set was at least acceptable. Other than that, there was nothing especially grand about the preparations. The Gu family seemed anxious to proceed, so my wedding was set for 3 months later, on the 2nd day of the 10th lunar month. Each day I stayed in my room watching my camellia see. She was far busier, running about and gathering information. On the 13th, Mother sent Danhua to tell me that on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, I was to remain in my courtyard and was not allowed to go anywhere. All the other sisters in the household received new clothes for the festival. I did not. They ate mooncakes and reunited with father and their respective mothers. I did not. Siu felt deeply wronged on my behalf, but I did not care very much. In truth, I had no desire to join them. Having no new clothes and no mooncakes was hardly worth grieving over. Once I married, I would consider the debt of being born repaid. From then on, we could treat one another as strangers. Why trouble myself over people who did not want me? Early on the Mid-Autumn Festival morning, Gu Chengyan sent me many kinds of mooncakes, along with a small flask of osmanthus wine, an osmanthus-scented sachet, and a small painting of an osmanthus branch. When the moon rose high that night, Shiyu and I ate mooncakes and sipped wine together. I held up the painting, admired it without knowing much about art, praised it enthusiastically anyway, then went to sleep happily, hugging the fragrant sachet. In this residence I was almost invisible. Whether the family celebrated a wedding or mourned a funeral, none of it seemed to have anything to do with me. Only Gu Chengyan sent things every few days, food and occasionally a small painting of flowers in bright, beautiful colors. I did not care whether he had painted them himself. All I needed to know was that he treated me well, and I hoped he could live a little longer, so every day I prayed for him. Siyu laughed and called me superstitious. I only smiled and did not argue. No one else needed to know what I wished for or how sincere I was. It was enough that I knew. On the 27th, with only a few days left before the wedding, Mother finally sent for me. After bowing, I stood a considerable distance away from her. She looked at me for a long while before saying, "You are not worthy of the Gu family's 3rd young master." I raised my eyes toward her. Was I unworthy because I had been born that way? Or because I had failed to work hard enough? Or was the greater fault perhaps hers, for giving birth to a child and then neither raising nor teaching her? I pressed my lips together and said nothing. If this engagement could have been broken, and if your legitimate elder sister were not about to marry elsewhere, and if those concubine-born girls were not unsuitable, the marriage would never have fallen to you. A married daughter is like water thrown from the basin. Once you marry a husband, you follow him. Do not run back here whenever something happens. The Wang family will not welcome you. I nodded. Madam can rest assured, I will remember. What did you call me? Madam Wang's voice changed sharply. I looked at her in confusion and asked, "Is that not what you meant? Mother is allowed to dislike and abandon me. Am I not allowed to let go of Mother in return?" Madam Wang took several deep breaths. You truly are a heartless debt collector. Go. From now until the wedding, your second aunt will teach you what you need to know. Yes. Just after I stepped out of the room, I heard her say to Danhua, "If I had known, I should have drowned her back then and been done with it. We raised her all these years only to get an ungrateful wretch. Even a dog knows how to wag its tail when it sees its master. But I was not a dog, I was a person. I had joy, anger, sorrow, and love just like anyone else. I had no profound education, but I had a heart capable of feeling and understanding. I had eyes to see and ears to hear. People reap what they sow. She had never given me even the smallest trace of a mother's love. Why should I wag my tail and beg like a dog? The first time I met second aunt, she tried hard to make excuses for Madame Wang. She spoke of poor health and other reasons. I only smiled obediently. After a moment, second aunt fell silent and sighed. Once you are married, everything will be better. Yes, it will be better after I marry. Third young Master Gu said he would teach me to read and write. Even if something happens to him, he will arrange my future properly. After I marry, I will no longer belong to the Wang family. I will have nothing to do with them anymore. My dowry was not large, but to someone like me who had never seen much of the world, it still seemed substantial. Second aunt looked over the dowry list and fell silent again. I could not help asking, "Second aunt, is something wrong?" "Your mother." I could not read the list and did not understand what she was thinking. She eventually said, "You will learn sooner or later, so there is no point hiding it from you. Apart from the betrothal gifts sent by the Gu family and returned with you, everything else given to you was chosen carelessly and is inexpensive. It does not matter." Madam said that once I marry she will no longer have dealings with me. No one wants to throw good meat to a dog only to lose both meat and dog. She once merely sent me far away instead of killing me. I have already thanked heaven for that. If we become strangers afterward, there is no need to keep resenting one another. The maids assigned to accompany me had all been bought from outside and had received little proper training, much less instruction in household rules. Second aunt's expression darkened. Yuan, let second aunt give you some dowry maids. Second aunt, I have no estates or shops to manage, and I have no money of my own. I cannot afford to support so many people. As for the servants Madam assigned me, she did not give me their indenture contracts either. Once I reach the Gu residence, I intend to send them back. Second aunt, the only one I cannot bear to leave is Shiyu. If you could help me obtain her contract, I would remember your kindness for the rest of my life. Second aunt helped me obtain not only Siyu's indenture contract, but also the contracts of 4 other maids and 2 older female servants. On the day I married, my dowry procession was very small. My sisters stood far away. Madam Wang gave me no farmland, shops, or private spending silver. Master Wang and my 2 elder brothers looked at me with cold indifference. I did not address them either. Only second aunt secretly slipped me 1,000 taels of silver and told me to keep it for emergencies. There was no elder brother from the Wang family willing to carry me out of the residence. Gu Chengyan came in person to fetch his bride, but with his legs in their condition, he could not carry me either. The usual ceremonies of receiving parental instructions were omitted. When I bowed farewell to my parents, they said a few polite phrases and told me to leave. In the end, the matchmaker carried me. At the main gate, someone suddenly shouted. It was elder brother's voice. I wanted to lift my veil and look at him. Had he come alone? Had my wet nurse come too? But the matchmaker pressed down my hand and pushed me into the bridal sedan. Outside, firecrackers exploded, and horns blared. Elder brother called out twice more, using the secret signal the 2 of us shared. Tears nearly escaped me. I wanted to answer with our 2 calls, but then I remembered that I was a bride and should not make myself a laughingstock. Though in truth, I already was considered one. I did not mind that Wang Yuan had become a joke because that joke was not of my making. I had done nothing wrong. It was the Wang family's narrow hearts and cruel choices that were at fault. But once I crossed the Wang family's gate, I would be the Gu family's daughter-in-law. I could not disgrace Gu Chengyan. The bridal sedan swayed all the way to the Gu residence, where firecrackers and music were still sounding. The matchmaker helped me down, and I took hold of the red silk ribbon, following the broad steps ahead of me, one careful step at a time. Then came the wedding bows. First to heaven and earth, second to the elders, then husband and wife bowing to one another. The rites were complete, and I was sent to the bridal chamber. Gu Chengyan held my hand and walked only a few steps before sitting back into his wheelchair. I could hear the painful strain in his breathing. Of all the forms of address I could have used for him, I chose Third Master. Third Master, are you all right? I'm fine. What surprised me even more was that he had prepared a small carrying chair for me, with 4 older servants to carry me to the bridal chamber. Later, when I asked why he had arranged it, he said, if I am allowed to be lazy and sit in a wheelchair, why should you be made to suffer by walking all that way? But he was not lazy. He sat because walking caused him pain. Even so, Gu Chengyan welcomed me into the Gu family with great ceremony. Because his health was poor, no one came to make trouble in the bridal chamber, nor did they leave me sitting there bored for long. As soon as we reached the room, he lifted my veil and had Siyu help me remove the phoenix crown. The phoenix crown had been sent by Gu Chengyan. When I first received it, I had stared at it in amazement because it was so beautiful, and I had even hugged it to sleep for several nights. The wedding gown, on the other hand, had been prepared by the Wang family. I took it off and handed it to Siyu to lock away in a chest. I had no wish to see it again. After changing into lighter clothes, I sat awkwardly beside Gu Chengyan and said softly, elder brother has come to the capital. Was he the one who called out twice outside the gate? I nodded. Gu Chengyan summoned a servant and told him to check the main entrance. If he found my brother, he was to invite him in for the wedding banquet. I cannot arrange for him to sit at the principal table. It does not matter. If elder brother can enter the Gu residence and drink a cup of wedding wine for me, I will already be very happy. Naturally, I hoped I might see him, but I no longer dared ask for too much. After the meal, Gu Chengyan said, from now on, this courtyard belongs to you. I live in the courtyard ahead, separated from yours by a garden. If you need anything, send a maid over to tell me, or you can come yourself. As for learning to read and write, I will arrange that in a few days. I nodded again and again. I could feel the brightness in my own eyes as I smiled foolishly. Third master, thank you. Gu Chengyan did not share my room that night. I slept alone. The room was spacious and bright, with elegant furnishings everywhere, each detail revealing the taste and care of whoever had arranged it. The bedding was soft and carried a faint, pleasant fragrance. None of the maids or older servants I had brought with me were particularly useful. By contrast, the senior maid Gu Chengyan, assigned to me, was extremely capable. By capable, I did not mean she was harsh with me. She was strict with the servants, but toward me she was always respectful and courteous. Third, young madam, if you are tired, you may rest early. If you are not tired, you may read. You simply should not go out today. But I cannot read. I do not know any characters at all. I realized I still did not know how to address her. She smiled. My surname is Zhao. I was third young master's wet nurse. Then may I call you wet nurse Zhao? Her eyes narrowed with delight. It is my good fortune that madam is willing to call me that. Gu Chengyan had sent her both to supervise and to help me. I could not make things difficult for her, and I certainly did not dare make trouble for myself. She never tried to impose unnecessary rules. All in all, my first day at the Gu residence was comfortable and happy, and I slept especially well. I did not mind that my husband did not spend the wedding night in my room. I was still young, after all. The next morning was the formal tea ceremony. Gu Chengyan knew exactly what my dowry contained and knew I had nothing especially valuable, so he had prepared all the ceremonial gifts in advance. When wet nurse Zhao explained them to me, I memorized the order carefully, which item was to be given to which person, and when. As long as I followed the sequence without making mistakes, everything would be fine. The tea ceremony and introductions to the family went smoothly. There were many members of the Gu clan, but all of them were kind. No one deliberately targeted me. They simply wished Gu Chengyan and me a happy life together. My parents-in-law told me that paying my respects once every 10 to 15 days was enough. On ordinary days I could stay in my courtyard or stroll through the gardens as I pleased. This is your home. You can relax. There is no need to be overly restrained. If anything requires you, someone will come and tell you. On the way back I looked at Gu Chengyan and smiled. He returned the smile gently. Are you that happy? I nodded hard. There is something else that will make you even happier. I raised my brows, assuming he meant my reading lessons. Instead, in the garden I suddenly saw elder brother. Elder brother! I ran toward him, about to throw myself into his arms. He lifted one hand and pressed it against my forehead, stopping me at arm's length. Elder brother! I stamped my foot in displeasure. He laughed. You are already married and still act like a child. Even if I am 70 or 80, I will still be a child in front of elder brother. Such a clever tongue, I can never win against you. His eyes were full of laughter and indulgence. Smiling, he lowered his hand and took a pouch from inside his robe, holding it out to me. This is the dowry gift mother and your sister-in-law prepared for you. I accepted it happily. When I opened it, I saw silver inside. I no longer lacked money, but I did not rush to return it. I decided that later I would exchange it for useful things elder brother could take back to my wet nurse and sister-in-law. I turned toward Gu Chengyan. His eyes were filled with gentle amusement. Yuan, have your elder brother stay for a meal. We can serve it in the side hall of my courtyard. What do you think? Naturally, I could not have wished for anything better. I hurriedly thanked Gu Chengyan, then tugged at elder brother's sleeve and whispered, Is everyone well at home? Is wet nurse healthy? How did you come this time? How many days will you stay? When are you going back? When will you come again? He laughed. With so many questions, which one should I answer first? Answer them in order. You are not allowed to skip a single one. So overbearing. Elder brother reached as if to pinch my nose, then stopped halfway and instead patted my head lightly. I had endured so much mistreatment after returning to the Wang family. Seeing him still treat me exactly as before made my nose sting, and I nearly cried. Elder brother was the guest and Gu Chengyan the host. Though Gu Chengyan himself did not drink, he kept elder brother's cup filled and asked what places he had visited while working as a caravan escort. Whatever elder brother mentioned, Gu Chengyan could respond, and sometimes he knew a place even better than elder brother did. Are you still working with the escort agency? Gu Chengyan asked. Yes, it pays better than hunting. On this trip to the capital I also plan to bring some small goods home and see whether they sell. If the business works, I want to make several more trips. Once I earn enough silver, I hope to move my family to the capital. Though the capital is large, it is not easy to settle here. Is your child a boy or a girl? Gu Chengyan asked. A mischievous boy. When he heard I was coming to the capital this time, he shouted that he wanted to come find his aunt. Hearing elder brother speak, I felt both delighted and worried. I picked food for him and for Gu Chengyan. He said, coming to the capital would be good. I have an empty estate outside the city. Your family could live there. If the children need schooling, I can recommend several tutors. Elder brother's hand trembled around his wine cup, spilling wine onto the table. That would not be appropriate. Why not? I intend to transfer the estate to Yuan in a few days. You are her elder brother. What is wrong with an elder brother staying at his younger sister's empty property? Her nephew is also my nephew. Finding him a tutor is only natural. It could work, elder brother stammered, unable to say much more. I grinned from ear to ear. Thank you, third master, you are so kind. I hurried to serve him food and ladle soup into his bowl. I swear I will take very good care of you from now on. Every day I will ask heaven to let you live to 100. Gu Chengyan laughed. Yuan, you should eat too. Elder brother, please make yourself at home. When elder brother finally left, his steps seemed almost to float. Before going, he whispered to me, live well with your husband. Do not despise him because his health is poor. A man who truly treats you well matters more than anything. I nodded firmly. I would live properly with Gu Chengyan and never betray his kindness. Elder brother, I have cared for that camellia very well. It should bloom in the 1st or 2nd month next year. You must bring wet nurse, sister-in-law, and Dawa to see it. If it truly is a valuable variety, we can sell it, and use the money to buy brushes, ink, paper and an inkstone for Dawa. After elder brother left, I felt I should thank Gu Chengyan properly. I asked whether there was anything I could do for him. For example, those chrysanthemums in your courtyard that are about to wither. You could give them to me. I can trim and tend them. Next year I guarantee they will bloom better than this year with larger flowers. Then I will trouble Yuan. Third master need not be polite. What is such a small matter? You gave me a new path in life. That alone is an enormous kindness. You also let me see elder brother again and made plans for my future. I want to do something for you too. I am not an ungrateful girl. I see everything you do for me, and I remember it in my heart. Gu Chengyan said quietly, sometimes I still wonder whether bringing you from the Wang family to the Gu family was truly right. Of course it was right. I immediately cut off his hesitation. Third master, do you know what I ate for 3 meals a day in the Wang household? Do you know what kind of room and bed I had? How many servants attended me? How many new outfits I received? How much monthly allowance I got? I ate 1 meat dish, 1 vegetable dish, and 1 soup at each meal, and sometimes even those were difficult to swallow. The rice could be hard, the soup sour. My room lacked proper furnishings. The tables and chairs were broken, with obvious repair marks. The nights have already turned cold, yet I still use the thin quilt from summer. Fortunately, I arrived there while the weather was still warm. Otherwise, by winter I might have frozen to death. I nominally had 2 maids and an older servant, but apart from Siyu, I barely saw the others. My monthly allowance was 5 taels and Siyu had to make several trips before she could collect it. Once we got the 5 taels, we soon had to spend 1 tael rewarding people outside the courtyard. Otherwise, we might not even receive proper meals or hot water. There were several other sisters living in Tongyuan, but not one of them would associate with me. Whenever I tried to speak to them, they acted as though they had seen a ghost and ran away. Wang Yushin was worse. She stormed straight into my room and smashed my belongings. If the servants had not held her back, she would have beaten me. The Wang residence was never my home, and the Wang family were never truly my family. Madame Wang herself said that a married daughter is like spilled waters. She told me not to return in the future, lest I bring misfortune and kill her. If I truly brought bad luck to my parents. Then after these months under the same roof, should they not already have been harmed? My wet nurse and elder brother both praise me. They say I am the best girl in the world, and that every flower or plant I grow thrives especially well. Wet nurse says only kind-hearted people blessed by heaven can grow flowers so well, so I am not a jinx. I took a deep breath, crouched in front of Gu Chengyan, rested my hands on his knees, and looked up at him. But other than wet nurse and elder brother, no one has ever been willing to reach out and help me. Siyu always told me to endure because if I did not, both she and I would be finished. Only you reached out to me and pulled me out of the Wang family. It may not have been a den of wolves and tigers, but to me it was worse than a prison. Third master, do not blame yourself. Being able to come to your side feels like fortune accumulated over several lifetimes. I am so happy I could go mad. Last night was the best sleep I have had since returning to the capital. I no longer have to fear that someone will call me a jinx and decide to burn or bury me. These past 3 meals I ate until I was completely full because the food was so abundant and delicious. My eyes grew wet as I looked at Gu Chengyan. In truth, I rarely cried. The only time I had been unable to stop myself was when Wang Yushin struck my palm because it hurt so badly. When the Wang family neglected and suppressed me, I did not cry. When the food was poor, I did not cry because at least I had something to eat. My monthly allowance was only 5 taels, and after 1 month of receiving it, there was practically nothing left. I did not cry then either, because I knew I would soon escape that cage. I still had the 20 taels my wet nurse and elder brother had given me, enough to survive for a while. But right now, I suddenly want to cry, especially when Gu Chengyan's large hand came to rest on my head and gently patted me, half in comfort and half in pity. The moment a tear fell, I hurriedly wiped it away. Gu Chengyan could not help asking, "Why are you crying?" "This is not crying from sadness. These are tears of happiness, tears of being given a new life," I explained very seriously. I had never truly been stupid. I had only lacked experience and had never seen the wider world. A household and the supposed debt of being born had simply kept me bound. Gu Chengyan helplessly handed me a handkerchief. "If you are happy, then do not cry. It is not good for a young lady to shed tears all the time." I immediately took it and wiped my face, then said earnestly, "I know, too much crying washes away one's good fortune." I had no intention of returning to my maiden home on the customary 3rd day after marriage. Gu Chengyan did not press me about it. Instead, my mother-in-law, Madame Gu, summoned me and asked a few questions. Madame Wang does not like me. Before I married, she already told me not to return whenever something happened, so I would not disturb her. Third master's health is poor. What if traveling exhausts him? We may as well not go back. Madame Gu was silent for a moment, then asked, "Was she truly so harsh to you?" I do not know whether it counts as harsh. She never bothered hiding it. Anyone who makes even a small inquiry can learn the truth. I had not originally wanted to bring up Gu Chengyan's condition, but since I would not often come to the main courtyard afterward, I asked, "Mother, how exactly was Third Master injured? Is there truly no way to cure the poison in his body?" Madame Gu sighed. "It cannot be said that there is no cure. The problem is that one ingredient needed to activate the antidote is nearly impossible to find. Over the past few years, we have sent countless people searching and spent more silver than I can count, yet we still have not found it. He tells us not to trouble ourselves anymore. But child, come sit beside me." I moved closer. Madame Gu said, "You never saw him before the accident, when his bearing was extraordinary and his pride touched the sky. If you had, you would understand how far he fell from the heavens into the dust. My poor son." When Madame Gu began to cry, I panicked and hurried to wipe her tears. "It has taken everything he has just to become as calm as he appears today. That Wang family's eldest young lady had no heart. The marriage was arranged by elders and could not simply be discarded. After Chengyan's accident, we actually went to propose breaking the engagement, but she would not agree. Why would she refuse? Was she afraid you were deceiving her? She used every excuse to delay. When she finally became certain Chengyan could not be cured, she bluntly said she would not marry him." "How hateful!" I cursed angrily. "It is only a pity that I cannot beat her. Otherwise, I would definitely fight her myself." Madame Gu unexpectedly laughed. "It is fortunate that she was blind. When the Wang family offered to exchange you for her, we learned that they had another daughter who had been sent away for more than 10 years. I wanted Chengyan to have a wife, but he insisted on meeting you himself and asking your opinion. After he met you, he returned home and remained silent for 2 days. Then he ordered people to clean the vacant courtyard and had all the books from his younger years sorted and aired out. We are not afraid to spend money on him, and we do not believe in this nonsense about a child bringing misfortune to her parents. More than anything, we hope that after you marry into the Gu family, he will have something to occupy his mind, something to do every day, so he will have less time to drown in sorrow and can emerge from that darkness sooner. If the poison cannot be fully cured, perhaps it can at least be suppressed." My heart suddenly ached for all the effort Gu Chengyan had made. "Then we will cure him." I spoke with certainty. "If the medicinal catalyst cannot be found, we will search for it ourselves. Send people into the mountains, post notices offering to buy rare plants. Anything unusual that has never appeared in ordinary pharmacies, buy it and bring it back. I will grow it. Mother, I am very good at growing flowers and herbs, believe me. I will definitely grow the medicine that can cure Third Master." Madame Gu looked at me for a moment, then drew me into her arms and gently patted my back. "Good, good. From now on, I entrust Chengyan to you." I nodded vigorously. If the goal was simply to keep him busy, then my reading lessons alone might not be enough. I could pester him to teach me painting and ask him to take me outside the residence. I also want to clear a section of land specifically for growing rare medicinal herbs. There was no need to fear spending money on them. As long as the herbs grew well, sooner or later they would repay the investment 10-fold or 100-fold. What I never expected was that Madame Gu would immediately give me an entire estate. It backed onto a great mountain, had a stream running past the front, more than 40 mu of farmland, over 1,000 mu of mountain land, and 2 wooded areas. I am giving it to you now. From now on, use it to grow medicinal plants. Then she added, Yuan, I am entrusting Chengyan to you. I nodded dazedly. How much silver could such a large estate possibly be worth? And now it was mine? It felt unreal, almost weightless. When I told Gu Chengyan, he smiled. Mother is far wealthier than you imagine. She has plenty she can use. She could not possibly remain ignorant of how you were treated in the Wang family. I blinked. So she had already investigated everything? Then why did she still ask me about it? Was she afraid I would lie? Gu Chengyan gave a quiet laugh. It was more than a simple inquiry. She likely knows the details very thoroughly. There is one more matter I need to tell you. It concerns your dowry. Apart from the betrothal gifts our Gu family originally sent, the Wang family did not spend a single coin on you. The money used to purchase the rest of the dowry items also came from the Gu family. I asked wet nurse to calculate it. We gave them 10,000 taels. The Wang family spent only 5,000 taels on the things they sent with you. What? I shouted. How can they be so shameless? I stormed around the room in fury. I stamped my feet, gritted my teeth, cursed them for being black-hearted and rotten, and secretly wished that the Wang family would sooner or later decline. Let them use those 5,000 taels to buy coffins for themselves. My heart hurt so much over the money that at dinner I ate an extra half bowl of rice. Gu Chengyan burst out laughing and ended up drinking an extra half bowl of soup himself. Because there was no need to return to my maiden home for the customary visit, no one woke me early the next morning. Wet nurse Zhao told the maids, "Third young madam is still growing. If she can sleep, let her sleep a little longer." When I finally woke, I tasted sweet bird's nest soup for the first time. It was not extraordinarily delicious, but it was not unpleasant either. Mostly because it was my first time drinking it, I became especially fond of it. I ate lunch with Gu Chengyan. I did most of the eating while he occasionally placed a few bites into my bowl. He ate very little, spent much of the meal drinking soup, and preferred light dishes. Wet nurse Zhao told me that when he first learned the poison could not be cured, he had once gone more than a month without speaking. For several months, aside from a little soup, he scarcely ate rice or meat at all. He grew so thin he was almost skin and bones. Only after he slowly came to terms with things did he begin eating again. That is far too pitiful. Third master is such a good person. I absolutely will grow a great many rare medicinal herbs and eventually grow the very ingredient needed to cure him. In Gu Chengyan's courtyard I was given a study of my own. The brushes, ink, paper and inkstones on the desk were things I had personally chosen when Gu Chengyan took me to the Gu family's storeroom. They came in many colors and were exquisitely made. I loved them. The next day would be my official beginning as a student, and I went to bed earlier than anyone, though I tossed and turned for a long time before falling asleep. The following morning, I woke earlier than everyone, dressed neatly, ate breakfast and went to sit in the study waiting. Whenever I grew too restless to sit still, I touched this, wiped that, and found one little thing after another to clean. By the time Gu Chengyan woke, I had already cleaned the entire study. Even the inkstone and ink bowl had been washed several times. Third master, let us begin. He stood behind me, took my hand in his, and wrote my name on the paper, Yuan. Then he wrote a line of verse, explaining that my name likely came from it. I did not understand what the line meant, so he explained that one should never abandon oneself halfway through life. Even in old age, a person could still accomplish something meaningful. Then, still guiding my hand, he wrote several more phrases. A woman should respect herself, cherish herself, strengthen herself, and strive forward without ceasing. Yuan, this is what I hope for you. I hope you can become someone who lives by these words. Self-respect, self-love, self-reliance, and unceasing effort, I repeated. Gu Chengyan said, because I may not be able to stay beside you for many years, nor can I protect you for a lifetime. After I am gone, you will have to depend on yourself. Even the things I leave you will require ability if you wish to keep them. I threw my arms around him and burst into loud tears against his chest. Then you must live several more years. I am a little slow. I cannot learn everything quickly. You have to live a few more years and finish teaching me first. You must take responsibility for me. After a long while, he sighed. All right, I had the calligraphy he wrote framed and hung in my room. Every day I looked at it to encourage myself. My memory was actually very good. I learned the 3-character classic quickly as well. Gu Chengyan only needed to explain something once for me to understand it. He said I was naturally quick to learn and decided to reward me by taking me outside to play. Outside? To play? My eyes widened, and the corners of my mouth nearly reached my ears. I could not hide my joy or excitement at all. Go pack a few changes of clothes. We will stay away for several days. It was not merely going out for a short excursion. We would actually spend several days away from the residence. I flew back to my courtyard and told Siyu to hurry and pack, including some spending money. Wet Nurse Zhao instructed me not to wander around outside and to stay close to Gu Chengyan, while also directing the servants in their preparations. Everyone was busy, and I was no exception. Once I learned that Gu Chengyan planned to stay at an estate and might paint while there, I insisted that we bring plenty of paper and ink. Several carriages formed our little party, along with maids, older servants, and dozens of guards. I sat inside Gu Chengyan's large, spacious, warm carriage, staring at him with bright eyes. Once we leave the city, you may lift the curtain and look outside, he said with a smile. Yes, yes. As soon as we were beyond the city gates, I pulled up the curtain. Cold wind rushed in. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. There was an indescribable taste in the air. Perhaps it was freedom. Perhaps it was joy and happiness. I looked at Gu Chengyan. Thank you, Third Master. He smiled, took a sip of tea and asked, would you like to ride a horse? I do not know how. I will teach you. His attendant Qingyu led over a tall, majestic white horse and looked at Gu Chengyan with eyes that seemed almost wet. I imagined how dashing and brilliant he must once have been. Since the accident, perhaps he had never ridden again. Today he was doing it for me. The horse stood close to the carriage. He was tall, and he mounted with apparent ease. He must have been in pain, because his brows drew together slightly, but almost immediately his gaze softened again, and he extended a hand toward me. Yuan. Come up. He wanted to ride. He wanted to stand again in some small way. I could not dampen his spirits now, much less refuse. I placed my hand in his palm, and he pulled me onto the horse, so I sat in front of him. Whoa, I cried. Third Master, it is so high. He lightly urged the horse forward. I heard a low sound of pain escape him. Third Master, does it hurt badly? I can bear it. We had not gone far before he slowed the horse to a walk. I nestled against his chest and held his hand. Third Master, you will definitely recover. Yes, I definitely will. As he spoke, Gu Chengyan lightly brushed his chin against the top of my head. I tilted my face up toward him and smiled foolishly. He stared at me for a moment, then said, Qingyu, prepare brush and ink. I want to paint. Yes. Using only black ink on white paper, he painted a horse and a tall man holding a small girl in front of him. The girl had tilted her face toward the man, while the man inclined his head toward her. Their eyes held the same happiness, a pure, clear joy like people seeing hope and a future for the first time. Third Master, is this you and me? Yes, you paint beautifully. Only much later did Qingyu tell me that after the accident, Gu Chengyan had never ridden a horse or picked up a brush, much less read or painted. His heart had sunk into bitterness and silence. Then I came with my fire-like enthusiasm, warming that numb, dying heart little by little. We traveled toward the estate Madame Gu had given me. The weather was cold, though there had been no snow yet. Fortunately, there had also been little rain recently. The dirt road was rough, but at least the carriage wheels did not sink deeply into mud. Even sitting in the swaying carriage, I felt lighthearted. Gu Chengyan could not often ride with me, but Qingyu could lead a horse for me. From horseback, I watched villages, trees, and rivers pass slowly by. I was so delighted that my whole body trembled slightly. I decided I had to become braver. I would learn to ride. I would not fear falling and breaking a leg, nor being kicked by a horse. Galloping freely on horseback must feel magnificent. We traveled at a leisurely pace and sometimes stayed overnight in villagers' homes. Country people were simple and honest. Their food was not refined, but I found it delicious. Gu Chengyan still ate little. He preferred soup. A pot of chicken simmered slowly over the fire with a little noodle, and some greens made a perfect late-night meal. I could eat a large bowl, while he managed only half of a small one. He told me that in the past he had been extremely strict with himself. After a certain hour, he would neither eat nor drink, and he never touched late-night snacks. Now, however, seeing me enjoy my food so much made him unable to resist tasting some himself. There was apparently a certain pleasure in living as freely as I did. When we stayed with villagers, the bedding was changed to the kind I liked, soft and fresh-smelling. I slept extraordinarily well. The next morning, I woke refreshed and sat opposite Gu Chengyan in the carriage, reciting the three-character classic. I already knew it by heart, but he still wanted me to repeat it again and again. Read a book 100 times and its meaning will reveal itself, he said. His principles always sounded sensible enough to me, so I kept reciting. We traveled slowly and stopped in small towns to rest, sometimes staying at local inns. At one inn, Gu Chengyan saw me staring outside and asked, "Do you want to go for a walk?" I nodded eagerly. "Once everything is settled, I will take you." "Thank you, third master." My room and his were adjacent. I had intended to wash quickly and be done with it, but Siyu quietly advised me not to let Gu Chengyan always be clean and fragrant while I remained careless and untidy. If I did that for too long, perhaps he would eventually dislike me. I thought Siyu had a point. I did not consider myself dirty, but who would not prefer a clean, sweet-smelling, adorable girl? The little town was not large. There were only a few shops, and after a short stroll one could reach the end of the main street. But at the entrance of an alley, an elderly woman sold baked flatbreads and wontons. They smelled wonderful. "Third master." I swallowed and tugged his sleeve. Gu Chengyan had Qingyu push him over. We ordered more than a dozen flatbreads and several bowls of wontons. Gu Chengyan ate only one bite of flatbread, 2 wontons, and several sips of broth. He rarely praised food, yet this time he said, "The flavor is not bad." I was very different. I ate 2 flatbreads and a whole bowl of wontons, and if I had not been afraid of overfilling my stomach, I would have eaten more. "Grandmother, do you sell here every day?" "Yes. My home is just behind this alley. As long as it is not raining or too windy, I set up here. I have been doing it for decades." The old woman smiled kindly. As we spoke, an elderly man arrived carrying chopped scallions. He cheerfully collected the used bowls and chopsticks and went aside to wash them. They were obviously husband and wife. I asked, "Grandmother, do many people come here to sell medicinal herbs? Tomorrow is market day. Villagers from all around will come to sell herbs, and medicine shops from the county town will come to buy them. It becomes very lively. If Miss is not in a hurry, you can stay and have a look." I turned toward Gu Chengyan. He said, "Then we will stay one more day and leave the day after tomorrow." It was my first time attending a rural market, and I could hardly wait. Because we had eaten flatbread and wontons, we were not very hungry, but the innkeeper knew how to do business. He told us that one of his servants roasted meat exceptionally well and asked whether we wanted to try it. "Third master, let us taste it." Gu Chengyan did not touch the roasted meat at all. Xiu, Qingyu, and I ate until our stomachs were stretched tight, and we practically had to support one another while walking. It was simply too delicious. I told Gu Chengyan that we should have it roasted again the following evening, and that when we passed through this town on our return journey, we had to eat it one more time. I hoped that by then he might be able to eat a few bites too. Seeing how stuffed we were, Gu Chengyan helplessly shook his head. "You are not allowed to eat like that next time. Overeating is bad for the stomach." "Yes, yes." I nodded repeatedly. It was only because it was my first time tasting roasted meat this delicious. I truly could not control myself. I was greedy, hungry for new flavors, and so happy that I had eaten far too much without noticing. To avoid feeling sick, Siyu and I walked in circles around the room for so long that we became sleepy. When I finally lay down, I told Siyu that from now on I would never eat so excessively again. The inn served fresh, tender chicken congee the next morning, with homemade pickles, and it was delicious. I finished one bowl and was about to take a second when Gu Chengyan gave me a very mild look. I immediately said, "Then perhaps only another half bowl?" Gu Chengyan spoke slowly. "There is a market today. There will certainly be all kinds of snacks. Do you truly still want more congee?" "Oh, right. How had I forgotten something so important?" It was not entirely my fault. I had never been to a market before and did not even know markets sold food. I slowly put down my bowl and chopsticks. My heart had already flown ahead to the marketplace. The town market was not large, but it was packed with people. Everything for sale seemed unfamiliar to me. The woven bamboo goods looked especially strange and interesting. If they had not been difficult to carry, I would have wanted to buy one of every kind. There were even little toads carved from bamboo roots, polished smooth and fitted with eyes so they looked almost alive. They were not expensive either. I looked at Gu Chengyan. "Third master, may I buy them all? If you like them, buy them." I discovered something then. Whenever I wanted to buy food, he would frown. But when I bought these random little trinkets, he never objected. The guards following us were soon carrying 2 huge baskets filled entirely with little things he had bought for me. It was a kind of happiness I had never experienced in all the years I could remember. One man had spread the contents of a basket on the ground, saying he had dug the plants in the deep mountains, and that no one knew what medicine they might be. Several people stopped to ask because the plants looked unusual, but perhaps his asking price was high because no one bought them. I looked at Gu Chengyan. What were we lacking most? Precisely this sort of rare, unidentified plant. "Qingyu," Gu Chengyan called. Qingyu immediately stepped forward to ask the price. Curious, I followed. The man said, I went to great trouble to dig this from deep in the forest. In spring it blooms beautifully, and it is fragrant. I sold several clumps this past spring, but none were as large as this one. If you like it, 2 taels of silver will do. I quickly asked, what color are the flowers? At first they are white tinged with pink, then they gradually deepen into a rich pink. Gu Chengyan told Qingyu to buy it. I asked the man, you often go deep into the mountains. You must know many medicinal plants, right? He answered, I will not hide it from miss. I make my living gathering herbs. The medicinal plants I dug a few days ago have already been sold. This clump is something I do not recognize. The medicine shops would not buy it, so I brought it here as an ornamental plant. Then you must have seen many rare plants in the deep forest. If you encounter them again, could you dig them up and bring them out? As long as the price is reasonable, we will buy them. The man was overjoyed. Truly? No matter what they are? I nodded, and Gu Chengyan nodded too. That is wonderful. You would not believe how many beautiful flowering plants grow deep in the mountains. But because they do not resemble medicinal herbs and pharmacies will not buy them, I normally do not bother digging them. If you truly want them all, whenever I encounter one, I will bring it out. Rest assured, I will never demand an outrageous price. Qingyu arranged a time and place for future transactions and explained how the plants should be kept alive during transport. Gu Chengyan took me all the way around the market, and we returned with an overflowing haul. Back at the inn, I began sorting all the little things I had bought. Who would have expected that I would also buy a box of sparkling, multicolored stones? Gu Chengyan said they were yuhua stones. I did not know what yuhua stones were, but they were beautiful, more beautiful than anything I had ever seen. I will use this one as a hair ornament. This one can be sewn onto a sachet, and this pair can become earrings. I chose another piece that looked rather elegant and held it before Gu Chengyan. Third master, I will make this into a pendant for your fan. In summer you can hang it from the fan. He laughed. Then I will need an enormous fan for it to look proportionate. I looked again and realized the yuhua stone really was rather large. Then I will keep it, and make something for myself instead. I will not use it for your fan. Though it was unsuitable for a fan pendant, I thought it might look lovely wrapped in cord and hung on a wall or beside a window. Gu Chengyan said, if Yuan does not mind the work, you could make several more. Third master truly likes them? If you make them, of course I will like them. I laughed and resumed choosing stones already full of ideas. I took out threads in several colors, matched them together, and quickly braided a cord to show Gu Chengyan. Third master, look, is it pretty? Does it match what you are wearing? He accepted it, studied it for a moment, and nodded lightly. It matches very well. Then let me put it on for you. His existing pendant was a piece of superb jade, but the cord had grown old, so I wanted to weave him a new one. Gu Chengyan praised me. Yuan is very skillful with her hands. I can make many patterns. Just wait and see, third master. From that single box of yuhua stones, I eventually made a cord ornament for Si and the other maids as well. The guards did not need any. They were all grown men after all. Qingyu asked for 2 extra pieces for his younger sister. I put the rest away separately, intending to divide them among family members after returning to the capital. They were not valuable, but exchanging small handmade gifts was still a way of showing affection, and they were mainly decorative anyway. Siyu was delighted with hers for 2 days, then tossed it aside and barely looked at it again. Only Gu Chengyan kept the braided cord I made for him with him all the time. He even asked me to make several more in different styles and colors, so he could change them from time to time. The journey should originally have taken only a few days, but because we traveled slowly and rested often, nearly 10 days passed before we arrived. Fortunately, heaven was kind, and there was no rain along the way. Only when we neared the estate did a fine drizzle begin to fall. Autumn rain came with colder wind day by day, and winter was drawing closer. I even felt as though there might be a little snow mixed into the rain. I lifted the curtain and opened the wooden window, only for a blast of cold air to rush in. I quickly shut the window again and straightened the curtain. It is so cold outside. Gu Chengyan said, once we reach the estate there are heated floors and braziers. We can roast sweet potatoes then. That immediately made me look forward to arriving. Third master, have you been there before? I once stayed there for a few days with mother. The stream near the estate entrance has very fresh fish. Fish stewed with tofu is especially sweet. The tofu absorbs the flavor of the broth and becomes very soft. I swallowed involuntarily and hurried to wipe the corner of my mouth before I could embarrass myself. Gu Chengyan laughed. Look at you. Once we arrive, I will have someone catch fish and cook it for you. Just remember not to eat too greedily. I nodded repeatedly and looped my arms around his, acting spoiled. Third master is the best. The estate was enormous, with several dozen tenant households forming an entire village. They all made their living by renting the estate's land. In other words, our land was leased to them, and they returned part of their grain harvest as rent. They were tenant farmers of the Gu family, and, from now on, technically my tenants as well. Are they considered free commoners? I asked. Gu Chengyan nodded. The estate manager was a thin old man in his 60s. His 3 sons were already married, and he had many grandsons and granddaughters. Altogether, it was a large, extended family. The whole family lived in a small courtyard beside the main house. They had long since received word that third master was coming, so the manager had ordered the residence cleaned inside and out and had the heating system in the main courtyard lit in advance. When he looked toward me, he first bowed, then respectfully asked, "Does young madam avoid any foods, or is there anything she especially likes?" I turned toward Gu Chengyan. He said helplessly, "Go to the stream and see whether you can catch a few fish. Stew them with tofu and add a few vegetable dishes. Young madam has no particular restrictions, just do not make anything too spicy." Yes. Apart from the manager, the estate also had 2 older female servants and members of their families who effectively assisted him. The entire place was kept remarkably clean. It felt comfortable everywhere. The main residence had already been heated, so the moment we stepped inside, warmth wrapped around us. This house is so comfortable. Even after spending 10 years at the country estate where I had grown up, I had never lived in a house this pleasant. The old women there had never treated me with such respect either. Even the simple sweets sent over from the farm tasted good to me. The malt sugar cakes were especially delicious when warmed over charcoal until the outside became slightly scorched and crisp, while the inside stayed sweet and soft. The stream fish stewed with tofu was even better. I ate 2 bowls in a row. If Gu Chengyan had not cleared his throat several times to warn me, I probably would have eaten a third. "Uncle Hu, can we eat stream fish with tofu again tomorrow at noon? If young madam likes it, this old servant will have the kitchen make it. Young madam can also try the crispy fried stream fish. Even the bones become crunchy." My eyes immediately lit up. Elder brother had once brought me small crispy fish from outside, and I loved how one could bite straight through the bones. "Then Uncle Hu can arrange tomorrow's meal as you see fit. I want to try every delicious dish on the estate first, then decide which ones I like best and eat those several more times." Gu Chengyan and I stayed in 2 adjoining rooms. This estate did not use ordinary beds. Instead, each room had a heated brick platform. Firewood burned behind the wall to warm it, and once quilts were laid over the top, it stayed warm through the entire night. I enjoyed one leisurely day, then had to resume reading lessons. Inside the warm room, I held the 3-character classic and read with great concentration, memorizing the shape of every character. Gu Chengyan explained, "Once you have read enough and remember how the characters look, you can begin tracing and writing them. Eventually, you will need to recite the text from memory as well." I studied diligently. Gu Chengyan read beside me. I once flipped through one of his books and recognized only a handful of characters. He truly was extraordinarily learned. I wanted to work hard too and one day recognize as many characters as he did. I had never dreamed of becoming some famous talented lady. I only thought that now that I finally had the chance to learn, I should not waste time or disappoint Gu Chengyan, who endured pain to teach me. "Yuan, you have been reading for a long time. Go outside and play." I shook my head. I did not especially want to go. There might be interesting things outside, but if I left, Gu Chengyan would be alone in this room. "Third master, teach me play Go instead." "You truly do not want to go out?" I shook my head firmly. "It is very cold outside. Staying in this warm room is better." Gu Chengyan was silent for a moment. His gaze softened tremendously. He smiled gently. "Yuan, if you want to play, then go play. At your age, you should be carefree. You are still a young girl. How can you remain indoors all the time? Go amuse yourself. Let me have a little peace and quiet too." I glared at him. So he thought I was noisy? And here I had been feeling sorry that he might be lonely. "Fine, I will go play. You dislike my noise, and I dislike how quiet and boring you are." I took Siyu with me and called over Uncle Hu's young son and daughter. They showed me how to catch fish beside the stream using bamboo traps. We placed the trap where the water ran fast, then went upstream and struck the surface with bamboo poles. I stared wide-eyed as startled fish swam quickly downstream and darted straight into the bamboo trap. They went in! They really went in! I was fascinated. Do these fish breed naturally? Or are they raised deliberately? Hu's younger daughter explained. These all reproduce by themselves. The fish in the pond over there are the ones we raise. We often cut grass to feed them. There is not much difference in flavor between farmed fish and stream fish. If there is one difference, the farmed fish are usually a little larger. I was no food expert who could take one bite and identify every seasoning or judge exactly how long something had cooked. I only wanted to satisfy my appetite. Delicious or not delicious, that was enough for me. Whose daughter told me she had been into the mountains before, and that the forests contained all kinds of wild fruit and game. Young madam, would you like to go into the mountains? I was curious, but I did not want to take unnecessary risks. Forget deep mountains and dense forests. I would not even go far from the main residence to a tenant farmer's home by myself. I did not like assuming that other people were wicked, but I understood something very clearly. Human nature should never be deliberately tested. I was defenseless. If a bad person truly set their sights on me, wandering off alone would be no different from courting death. I had no desire to court death. When Whose daughter first praised the mountains, I did not suspect anything. But after I declined and she continued insisting again and again that the mountains were wonderful, I realized her intentions were not entirely innocent. The weather was already too cold anyway, and I was lazy about leaving the house. If spring came, I might consider taking a supervised trip into the mountains. That gave me an easy excuse. What I did not understand was why she seemed to harbor ill will toward me. I could not solve the matter myself, so I returned to the room and, when no one else was nearby, told Gu Chengyan everything. Third Master, what do you think she means? Does she want to hurt me? Gu Chengyan was ordinarily gentle and composed, rarely darkening his expression. He had read widely and understood people far better than I did. I could not see through Whose daughter, but he certainly could. Yet he did not say one bad thing about her, nor did he defend her. He only said mildly, "We will stay 2 more days. Once the weather improves, we will go home." Third Master, why will you not explain it clearly to me? If you never tell me, I will never understand. Next time, I might be fooled again. Gu Chengyan told me to close the window. I hurried over, shut it, then sat opposite him and stared intently. He asked, knowing that Whose daughter may have wanted to harm you, do you feel hurt? I shook my head. No, she and I never had any relationship in the first place. I will leave after a few days, and I do not even know when I will return. There is no affection or obligation between us. She failed to harm me. From now on I will keep my distance and never give her another opportunity. That is enough. Gu Chengyan asked, have you thought about taking revenge? I nodded slowly. I do not know how. Should I beat her? Should I complain to her father? If I tell him, would she be punished? I have never dealt with something like this before. You do not need to do anything. From now on, do not wander around when there is no need. I can teach you Go instead. I immediately nodded obediently. Whose daughter came several more times to invite me outside, but each time I said I had to study and refused. The look she gave me before leaving became dark and heavy enough to frighten me. That night I had a nightmare. I dreamed I had been thrown into the deep mountains, where wolves, tigers, and leopards took turns tearing me apart and swallowing me. Young madam! Siu shook me awake, but I remained dazed and could not recover my senses. Only when Gu Chengyan entered wearing a robe did I throw myself into his arms and choke out. Third Master, let us go home. It is too frightening here. If I stay longer, I may lose control and say something cruel to Whose daughter, complain to her father, or punish her myself. None of those are things I want to do. I have known since childhood that life is not easy for women. If Whose daughter were a man, I definitely would not be merciful. Gu Chengyan said, all right, we will leave tomorrow. We will not retrace the same route. We can make a detour, visit other places, and I can stop along the way to see an old friend. Yes. I nodded hard and looked up at him. He raised a hand and wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. Do not cry. Sleep a little more. I cannot sleep. The instant I closed my eyes, my mind filled with wolves and tigers bearing sharp claws and lunging at me before devouring me bite by bite. Gu Chengyan said, then do not sleep. Have the servants pack. We will leave as soon as the sky brightens. Gu Chengyan indulged me and cared for me. When he said he would stay with me, he truly stayed. We sat by the window in the wavering candlelight while he taught me a simple game of Go. I racked my brains and still could not beat him. I cheated shamelessly, taking 5 extra stones, then 10, then 20, then 30. Eventually I even switched the black and white stones around and added still more stones to my side. In the end I lost so badly that it was painful to look at. Third Master, why do you not blindfold yourself? Gu Chengyan gave me a strange look. If I cover my eyes, are you certain you can win? Then what if I do win? Siu did not know Go, but Qingyu did. He could tell Gu Chengyan where my stones were and where his own were. I had more than 30 extra stones, and Gu Chengyan even let me place 3 stones first, yet there was still no miracle waiting for me. I stared at the final stone in my hand, angrily threw it onto the board and declared, I am not playing anymore, never again. I huffed my way into the carriage and sat beside Gu Chengyan without paying him any attention. He quietly laughed. I whipped my head around and glared. He still dared laugh? Gu Chengyan managed to stop himself, but Qingyu could not. His expression practically said, "How could my young master ever lose?" It was far too discouraging. Gu Chengyan rubbed his nose. "Next time, I will give you even more stones." That only made me angrier, though mostly I was angry at myself for lacking patience. When we passed through a small town, Gu Chengyan said he would take me for a walk. I immediately jumped down from the carriage and happily followed beside him. Angry? I had forgotten all about it. The town happened to be especially lively because the town headman's son was getting married and holding a large wedding feast. Anyone with money could give a small gift and join the banquet. Those without money could apparently eat for free as well. I looked at Gu Chengyan. "Third master, let us go eat at the wedding. I have never attended someone else's wedding feast." "All right." Gu Chengyan took me, Qingyao and Xiu with him. As a gift, he brought one of his own landscape paintings, complete with inscription and seal. He did not register his name, so the person recording gifts had no idea who he was and casually assigned us to an ordinary table. There were 8 seats. 4 large, rough-looking men joined us. At first they had been speaking loudly and looked eager to eat their fill, but after sitting down with us, they immediately became quiet and barely dared reach for the dishes. 9 large bowls were set on the table, filled with foods I had never seen before. Gu Chengyan explained that ordinary rural wedding banquets often served this way in a style known simply as 9 great bowls. He ate only a bite or two. Xie Qingye and I ate much more. The food was not truly exceptional, but because it was a wedding feast, I somehow found it delicious anyway. Once we put down our chopsticks, the 4 men stopped pretending to be restrained. They swept through the remaining food like a whirlwind, eating so quickly that I feared they might choke. "Let us go," Gu Chengyan said. I immediately stood and followed him, whispering, "They eat so fast," he replied. "Judging by their builds, they probably do heavy labor. Even if they earn money, they cannot bear to spend extravagantly on food. A banquet with this much meat and vegetables may only come a few times a year. Eating one's fill is perfectly normal." "Third master, you know so much." Gu Chengyan shifted slightly to shield me from a cold gust of wind. "Once you travel more, see more, and broaden your horizons, you will gradually understand how varied the world truly is." "Third master, why did we give a painting instead of silver?" "Gold and silver have a price. Sentiment does not. If I gave 3 or 5 taels, it would be insignificant. If I gave 180 taels, it might look like bribery. If I give one of my paintings, others may value it at 1,000 gold pieces, but to me it is simply one painting." He sounded impossibly lofty, yet I knew Gu Chengyan was a man of upright character who disdained bribery and currying favor. I decided that one day I also wanted to conduct myself like him, open-hearted, strong, and still kind. After the wedding banquet, we remained in the town for one night. Gu Chengyan said he wanted to visit a former classmate serving as magistrate in a nearby county. They had once been very close. After passing the imperial examinations and receiving an official appointment, the man had been sent by the emperor to govern this county. From Gu Chengyan's words, I could hear how much he missed the past and how much he cared for his old friend. "Third master, you will definitely recover." Gu Chengyan paused, then smiled and rubbed my head. "Our Yuan is the most unusual girl I have ever met," I snorted. "What is unusual about me? There are many girls like me. It is only because you gave me something to hold on to that I am becoming better little by little." Gu Chengyan's friend must have been an honest official, because from the moment we entered the county, the atmosphere felt different. Whether common people or traveling merchants, everyone seemed to carry light in their eyes and hope for the future. When we finally met the magistrate, he wore robes that were neither new nor shabby and carried the unmistakable air of a scholar. The moment he saw Gu Chengyan, he froze, then his eyes reddened as he called, "Mingyu, little brother." Mingyu was Gu Chengyan's courtesy name. The magistrate looked toward me and smiled. "Is this my younger sister-in-law?" "Yes. Yuan, this is elder brother Han." I immediately bowed. "Greetings, elder brother Han." Magistrate Han laughed and patted Gu Chengyan's shoulder. "You brat, you are fortunate indeed. Sister-in-law, come inside." He invited us in and ordered someone to fetch his wife. "I wrote you more than a dozen letters before, and you never answered one. Now that you are finally willing to come outside and look around, I can finally stop worrying. Men should have fire in their blood. How can a single setback defeat us? Travel in every direction. Who knows when an opportunity may appear? There are countless capable people in the world and many skilled physicians too. The people I sent to the capital before found nothing, And I have already asked around the neighboring counties. Since you are here now, I will send people to invite several doctors over. Elder brother Han. Gu Chengyan gripped his hand. Thank you. Between you and me, saying thank you is too formal. Madame Han was an exceptionally cheerful and capable woman. Her laughter was loud and wonderfully warm. Little sister, since you have come, stay a few days. I will take you around while those two old friends catch up. It was the first time I had seen Gu Chengyan speak with such enthusiasm. He could not drink, so he used plain water instead, clinking cup after cup with Magistrate Han. He had not touched a drop of wine, yet somehow he looked almost drunk to me. On the way back to the guest courtyard, Qingyu pushed Gu Chengyan's wheelchair. Suddenly Gu Chengyan reached for my hand and asked softly, Yuan, will you leave? Of course not. Wherever Third Master is, I will be there. If I left you, where could I possibly go? The world is vast, and I have no one else to rely on. Where would I go? He was not someone I had reluctantly accepted after comparing choices. Everything else came after him. He was the one certainty, the one indispensable person, the existence I would not abandon. I believe Yuan, he said. You must believe me. What I had not expected was that Madame Han would arrange for Gu Chengyan and me to sleep in the same room. I could hardly announce that we had not yet consummated the marriage. I was still very young, and he was certainly not some beast. Gu Chengyan said, if we go explain it to sister-in-law now, would that not be exposing our own private affairs? You sleep on the bed, I will sleep on the couch. No. Your health is poor and you cannot tolerate cold. You sleep on the bed, I will sleep on the couch. The couch, however, was not comfortable at all. It was hard enough to make every bone ache and cold enough that no matter how I curled up, I could not get warm. Third Master, could I sleep on the bed too? He remained silent for a long time before finally saying in a low voice, come over. I immediately carried my pillow and quilt across. He had difficulty moving, so naturally I could not make him sleep on the inner side. I arranged the bedding myself, crawled beneath the covers, and said happily, Third Master, you should sleep early too. Many years later, whenever I remembered how carefree and innocent I was at that time, I could not help laughing. I had always been broad-minded, and lately, traveling beside Gu Chengyan, I had been cared for exceptionally well. He indulged me so much that I grew even more carefree. I ate well, stayed warm, felt joyful and secure, and naturally fell asleep quickly and deeply. In the middle of the night, however, I sensed warmth beside me and unconsciously crawled into Gu Chengyan's bedding. He pushed me back toward my own quilt. Half asleep, I murmured, Third Master, is it morning already? Not yet, go back to sleep. Oh, at my age, how could I possibly understand that Gu Chengyan might be unable to sleep? When I woke properly, he was already gone. I thought nothing of it, and asked Siyu to bring water so I could wash. Siyu lowered her voice. Madam, did you sleep in the same bed as Third Master last night? Yes, Siyu smiled very strangely. I had no idea what she found so funny. Then Madame Han said she would take me shopping, and I immediately forgot Siyu's odd expression. Gu Chengyan did not come with us, but Qingyu followed. According to Gu Chengyan, I could not allow Madame Han to spend money on me, but I also could not give her anything excessively valuable. 100 taels was the absolute upper limit. I could buy whatever I liked, but I had to use my own money. I understood that Magistrate Han was an official. If Madame Han and I exchanged too many expensive things, people might accuse him of accepting bribes. Being an honest official truly was not easy. Madame Han clearly understood this as well. While choosing things, she could not help sighing. I told her, sister-in-law, this is good too. If we conduct ourselves openly and uprightly, elder brother Han's official career can grow steadily and rise higher. She laughed. Then I will borrow Yuan's auspicious words. For me, going out did not require buying anything. Merely being able to step outside, look around here, wander around there, was already an enormous happiness. Every region had its own customs, different ways of speaking, even different styles of dress. All of it felt unfamiliar to me. Madame Han gently reminded me that every county also had taboos and local practices to respect. Even if we were only passing travelers, we should honor other people's beliefs and customs. I thought to myself that in the future, whenever I traveled somewhere unfamiliar, I should first ask local people what I needed to know. I had no desire to pry into private matters. I simply wanted to know a little more and understand a little more. Day after day, year after year, everything I heard and saw would enrich my experience. Then, when I was too old to wander anymore, those memories alone would be enough. Late that night in the quiet darkness, I suddenly heard a muffled groan of pain from the pillow beside me. I blinked, awake, and sat up. Third Master, does something hurt? Gu Chengyan struggled to endure it and answered, the poison is flaring up. My legs hurt badly. I hurried out of bed to light a lamp and sent Siyu to fetch Qingyu. Then I helped Gu Chengyan sit up against the headboard, lifted his legs and reached to roll up his trouser leg. He immediately caught my hand. Yuan, call Qingyu. Third master, let me do it. You are a woman and I am a man. There is a saying that men and women should not touch casually, but you have forgotten that you are my husband and I am your wife. I rolled up his trouser leg. Because he had hardly used his legs in so long, the muscles had wasted away. They were thin enough to look almost like skin wrapped around bone. I reached out and touched him. Both of us cried out. So cold, Gu Chengyan said. Yuan, put your hands there again. I did not understand, but I obeyed and placed both palms against his leg. At first Gu Chengyan could still endure it. Then his expression gradually twisted, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Third master? I called softly. He said, ever since I was poisoned, my legs have not been able to feel warmth. At first they were only uncomfortably cold. Later the cold became a stabbing pain that seemed to reach the bone and brain. When you touched me just now I could finally feel warmth. So that is all? Then is that not easy to solve? After Qingyu helped him take medicine and his complexion improved, Gu Chengyan sent both Qingyu and Siyu away to rest, and told me to sleep too. I agreed, climbed back onto the bed, moved my pillow to the opposite end, and slipped beneath the blankets. Then I pulled Gu Chengyan's legs toward me, lifted my nightclothes slightly, and tucked his feet against the warmth of my body. Gu Chengyan jerked in shock. Yuan, what are you doing? Warming your feet. You, he stammered for a long while. I yawned. Go to sleep. I am very sleepy. Normally I would already be deeply asleep at this hour. Tonight your illness woke me up and made me worry for so long that I have lost a lot of sleep. At first, holding a pair of legs cold as ice was uncomfortable, but once they gradually warmed, I quickly fell asleep. At some point Gu Chengyan tried to pull his feet away. The movement startled me half awake, so I hugged his legs more tightly and went back to sleep. By morning, Gu Chengyan was still sleeping deeply, which was rare. Normally he woke far earlier than I did, yet that day he slept late. There was nothing urgent to do anyway, so I went back to sleep too. The next time I woke, the sun was already high. Gu Chengyan sat nearby playing Go against himself. When he looked at me, he seemed to want to say something then stopped. Third master, did you sleep well last night? Yuan, we what? Third master, do not start talking to me in complicated principles. I will not understand and I do not want to. Just say it directly. Last night I held your legs. Did they feel warmer? Did you sleep well? If it made you comfortable, that is enough. You do not need to be so restrained about it. You are my husband. Is it not natural for me to do this? Gu Chengyan remained silent for a long time before suddenly saying, one day, you may still have to marry again. Marry? Whom? After living with someone as good as Third Master, who else could possibly catch my eye? Who could treat me as well as you? Here I do not need to exhaust myself serving parents-in-law, keeping peace with other women in the household, or dealing with endless everyday trivialities. Every day I only need to read, learn, and live comfortably. I do not have to worry about earning a living or whether there will be enough food and clothing. I only want to stay by your side and help you live a few more years. When you are gone, I will find somewhere peaceful and live alone quietly. When I become too bored, or when I miss you too much, I will go find you. That would be a complete ending to my life. I looked at him firmly. Third Master, do not say things like that again. I do not like hearing them. Once I became stubborn about something, Gu Chengyan could rarely stop me. That included making him soak his feet in hot water every night, massaging his legs and warming them when we slept. If I was going to hold him while sleeping, then naturally he had to be washed clean and fresh. I could not possibly tolerate hugging someone dirty and smelly. He had refused before, but his refusal was useless, because he could never bring himself to push me off the bed. I also noticed that lately he had been sleeping much better, and the dark shadows beneath his eyes were gradually disappearing. So he could keep protesting while I continued doing as I pleased. He benefited, and I lost nothing. I still ate well and slept soundly. Once, Qingyu carried Gu Chengyan on his back, and secretly turned toward me to give me a thumbs up. By the 12th lunar month, New Year was approaching, and it was time for us to return to the capital to celebrate with the family. Gu Chengyan suggested buying New Year goods for everyone. I immediately took over the task. Qingyu had far more experience with such matters, so he told me what needed to be bought and taught me how to judge quality. At first I was clumsy, but after doing it again and again, I gradually learned. Small towns did not have many fine goods. County seats had more, but the prefectural city had far better choices. Especially in the treasure pavilion, the gold and silver jewelry was exquisite and eye-catching, though certainly not cheap. Gu Chengyan selected many pieces for me without caring whether I was currently old enough to wear them. Do not all women like these things? I like them too, but I have not reached my hairpin ceremony yet. I cannot wear elaborate dangling hair ornaments like these yet. Then, keep them for now. Once you are old enough to put your hair up, you can wear them. We returned to the Gu residence in the capital during the 12th lunar month. Madame Gu immediately noticed that Gu Chengyan's complexion was much better and was overjoyed. It is good that you are back. He asked me to hand over the New Year goods we had purchased to Madame Gu and distribute gifts to the different branches of the family. I also gave out some of the yuhua stone ornaments I had braided. The family even invited an imperial physician to examine him and take his pulse. The imperial physician said that although the poison had not been removed, Gu Chengyan's body was steadily recovering. If things continued this way, it would certainly help extend his life. A good mood, stronger appetite, and better sleep were all excellent signs. No one dared hope he would live to 100, but surviving several more years was entirely possible. I was ecstatic. Madame Gu was equally delighted. With one generous wave of her hand, she gave me a box filled with silver melon seed ingots and told me to use them as spending money. The box was worth at least several hundred taels, perhaps even 1,000. And she simply handed it to me to play with. She also gave me a box of pearls of uneven sizes, all bright and excellent in quality. You can use these to braid into cords or combine with your ornaments. I also have some miscellaneous jade pieces. I will have someone sort them and send them all to you. Thank you, mother. What I did not expect was to see one of the yuhua stones I had gifted someone lying abandoned in the grass of the garden. I remembered very clearly which stone, shape, and pattern I had given to each person. This one had gone to the eldest branch, specifically Gu Chengyan's eldest sister-in-law. If she did not like it, that was fine. I simply would not prepare anything for her next time. I made a new cord and hung the stone beside my own window. When Gu Chengyan saw it, his brows drew together slightly. Clearly, he remembered exactly whom I had originally given it to. Now it was hanging here, so obviously I had not gone asking for it back. Yuan, yes? Are you angry? I shook my head. No, she and I never had much of a relationship and are not close. It is normal if she does not like me. There are countless people in the world, and I am not gold or silver. How could everyone possibly like me? As long as his third master likes me, that is enough. Gu Chengyan did not say much. He only sent Qingyu out on an errand. When Qingyu returned, I suddenly had my own independent household registration. My eyes widened. With my own registration, I was legally free. I could go wherever I wanted, and no one had the right to imprison me again. As long as I had enough money, I could buy houses, shops, and estates in my own name. On the 17th day of the 12th lunar month, there was to be an imperial palace banquet. I never expected that I would be allowed to go and broaden my horizons. Only then did I learn that Gu Chengyan's eldest sister had married the current second prince, though the second prince was away on official business and could not return to attend the banquet. No one had ever told me these things. The second prince returned to the capital a few days before us. I heard that his mission had gone extremely well, and that the second prince's consort had also contributed significantly. Gu Chengyan told me, "If you want to attend the banquet, go with mother. If you do not want to, that is fine too." I looked at him. "Third master, are you going?" "No." "Then if third master does not go, I will not go either." That year, neither Gu Chengyan nor I attended the palace banquet. We stayed home and ate hot pot together. He could not tolerate spicy food, while I loved it. I ate until my eyes watered, my nose ran and sweat soaked my clothes, yet I felt wonderfully satisfied. Gu Chengyan asked, "If you cannot tolerate the heat, why not eat something milder?" "Because I still have to try it. Besides, it really is delicious. Once your health improves, you can try a little too." Gu Chengyan put down his chopsticks and looked toward the window, where the plum tree outside was beginning to show its first buds. His voice carried an indescribable loneliness. "In this world, perhaps you are the only person who truly believes I can be cured and live a long life." I did not understand why he was so pessimistic. I wanted to comfort him but did not know the right words. Then he said, "Yuan, when spring comes next year, shall we move out and live separately from the main household?" "Yes, I do not care where we live. As long as third master is beside me, anywhere is fine." I did not expect trouble to arrive before we could even finish another peaceful meal. It began when eldest sister-in-law summoned me to speak with her. Only the two of us were in the room. Xiu had been called into a neighboring room by several other maids. Eldest sister-in-law took out a gold hairpin and asked me whether it was beautiful. The hairpin was not beautiful, at least not compared with the ones already stored in my jewelry box. But in order not to offend her, I lied and said, "It is beautiful." She then insisted on giving it to me. I shook my head. "I do not dare accept it." "Why would you not? Take it. It is not anything especially valuable. She kept pressing it into my hand until I finally accepted. I thought that even if I did not like it, it was still a gold hairpin. Later it could be exchanged for silver and buy quite a lot of rice. To show respect, I offered to put it in my hair immediately, but she said my current hairstyle did not suit it, and that I could wear it another time when my hair was arranged differently. Her explanation sounded reasonable, so I tucked the hairpin into my sleeve. Yet the moment I stepped out of her courtyard, several older women rushed forward and blocked my way. "Third young madam, please stop. Our madam has lost a gold hairpin." They seized me, pulled the hairpin from my sleeve, and pretended to be shocked. Who would have thought third young madam was this kind of person? Our madam is the most generous and forgiving person. If third young madam simply goes back inside and apologizes, the matter will be finished. Since you like the hairpin, madam would naturally give it to you anyway. I froze for a moment, then understood. They were framing me. Do not speak nonsense. She gave me this hairpin herself. I did not steal anything. Why should I apologize? They tried to cover my mouth and drag me back into the courtyard. I fought, raised my hands and scratched their faces. I had stolen nothing. Why should I quietly endure slander and bullying? Lately Gu Chengyan had indeed spoiled me. Perhaps I had developed a little temper, or perhaps being loved by him had given me a little pride. In any case, they wanted to use the accusation of theft to trap me, drag me back inside, and then do whatever they wished. What they had not expected was that I would make such a loud scene and immediately fight back. Siyu stood frozen for a moment, then rushed in to help me. The two of us could not defeat 3 or 4 people, of course, but I was still their mistress. They did not dare truly injure me, and once I began shouting at the top of my lungs, they panicked even more. "Third young madam! Third young madam!" The commotion became so loud that Madame Gu finally sent people over. By the time we were summoned to the main hall, my clothes were disheveled and my hair was a mess. "What exactly happened?" Madame Gu asked. I immediately said, "She gave me that gold hairpin herself." I refused it, but she insisted I take it. The moment I walked out of her courtyard, those women rushed out, accused me of stealing her hairpin, and said I had to back to inside to explain myself. I did not steal anything. Why should I have to explain? It is only a useless gold hairpin anyway. I have plenty of them. Madame Gu rubbed her forehead and turned toward eldest sister-in-law. The woman hurriedly said, "Mother, this is all my fault. I truly did give the hairpin to third sister-in-law." My wet nurse did not know and misunderstood, believing third sister-in-law had stolen it. I immediately interrupted her. "Watch your words. I did not steal anything. Stop deliberately attaching the word thief to me." I had never liked her much to begin with. Throwing away the yuhua stone I gave her was one matter, framing me for theft was another. After this I had even less reason to like her. "Mother." She suddenly dropped to her knees before Madame Gu, wearing such an aggrieved expression that one might think I had bullied her. "Mother, it is all my fault. I failed to manage the servants properly. Please punish me." Madame Gu frowned, then turned to me. "Yuan, what do you think? If servants make mistakes, they should be punished appropriately. What do you say?" What was I supposed to say? This had never truly been the servants' idea. Their mistress was obviously the one directing them. Before I could answer, Gu Chengyan's voice came from outside the door. Does mother truly believe those servants were bold enough to do this on their own? Was it not eldest sister-in-law who deliberately set a trap in order to gain leverage over Yuan? The atmosphere in the hall changed instantly. The hurt and humiliation I had been holding back suddenly surged up. I threw myself into Gu Chengyan's arms and burst into tears. He said softly, "Do not worry. I will not let anyone bully you without reason. I will not let today's matter end so easily." Gu Chengyan's voice remained gentle and attentive, but eldest sister-in-law panicked. "Third brother, it was sister-in-law's fault. Please let this go for my sake." Gu Chengyan ignored her, led me to sit at one side and handed me a handkerchief so I could wipe my tears. While I cried, I heard Gu Chengyan ask Madame Gu, "Mother, what do you think of this matter?" Madame Gu began. Gu Chengyan cut her off. "Mother, Yuan is still young and does not understand these twists and turns. Surely even you can see why this happened today. It is simply because you gave Yuan an estate, then gave her a box of silver melon seed ingots and a box of pearls. Someone became jealous and decided to bully Yuan, to get leverage over her and vent the resentment in her heart." Madame Gu stood, looked at him, then at eldest sister-in-law kneeling on the floor, and slowly sat again. Before she could speak, he cut her off again. "Mother, she dared scheme against Yuan and humiliate her only because she thinks I am already a useless cripple who will not live much longer. Yuan has no maiden family she can rely on and no one else to support her. Would eldest sister-in-law dare use the same scheme against second sister-in-law?" Madame Gu's face immediately became heavy with pain, regret, and shame. Then what do you want done? She asked. Gu Chengyan answered, take every maid and older servant from her courtyard and interrogate them. The truth will become clear. One person may grit her teeth and endure, but I do not believe an entire household could withstand torture without someone speaking. Eldest sister-in-law turned deathly pale. Her whole body trembled. No, no. She looked desperately toward Madame Gu. Mother, this daughter-in-law knows she was wrong. It was all my fault. Please, mother, please. Madame Gu still hesitated. Gu Chengyan rose, took my hand, and said, Mother, after spring comes, Yuan and I will move out and establish our own household. We will not remain in the Gu residence where others find us unpleasant to look at, and we will not give anyone another opportunity to scheme against or look down on Yuan. This once, I will endure it. But I must remind Mother of one thing. Is someone with such petty and malicious intentions truly worthy to be the Gu family's daughter-in-law? We walked out of the room. Behind us came the sound of crying. Gu Chengyan sat back in his wheelchair without expression. I thought that would be the end of it. Then Gu Chengyan's eldest brother came. I did not know what the two of them discussed, but raised voices came from the study. I stood too far away to hear clearly. Soon afterward, he summoned Qingyu and told him to pack. He told me to pack as well. Are we not staying here for New Year? Tomorrow is already New Year's Eve. He rubbed my head. As long as Yuan is with me, celebrating New Year anywhere is the same. Then let us move. But once again, leaving was not so simple. Gu Chengyan's second brother came to persuade him. I went to eavesdrop and heard Gu Chengyan say, she was vicious and selfish, yet she still tried to shift blame onto Yuan, even bringing up the nonsense that Yuan brings misfortune to her parents. I despise someone who cannot distinguish right from wrong, and I do not wish to live under the same roof as her. Second brother answered, but you cannot simply move out today. If you truly leave now, what will outsiders say about sister-in-law? You have always been calm and steady. Why do you lose all sense of proportion whenever something concerns her? After a long silence, Gu Chengyan said, when the husband is honored, the wife shares his honor. I have been poisoned and may not live long. In everyone's eyes, I am already ruined. So they think, what does it matter if they bully or mock Yuan? Even if I step in to protect her, what use can I be? I am no longer the brilliant third young Master Gu with limitless prospects. They can gain nothing from me now. In their eyes, I have fallen into the mud. She cries a few times and says she was wrong, and father and mother reduce a serious offense to something trivial, then dismiss it altogether. The person who was wronged does not receive even a single word of justice. Do they think they were merely bullying Yuan? No, they were bullying me. They were humiliating me. Third brother. Second brother's voice trembled. Second brother, do not persuade me further. If father and mother are like this and my brothers are like this, I accept it. But I will not accept fate. I simply cannot walk. My mind is not broken, nor are my hands useless. There will come a day, even if I am dead by then, when they will not dare, and will not be able, to act as they did today. Humiliating my wife is the same as humiliating me. If anyone wants leverage over Yuan, they will have to step over my corpse first. I was prepared to let today's matter pass, but one person after another keeps demanding that I compromise. Neither Yuan nor I did anything wrong. Why are we the ones expected to yield? If this matter is not properly resolved today, I, Gu Chengyan, will sever my relationship with the Gu family. Second brother, please pass these words to them. Hearing him speak like this made my heart ache unbearably. I hid in my room and cried. That evening, every lamp in his courtyard was lit. He forbade me from leaving my room, and especially from going anywhere near the front courtyard. Siyu ran back and forth bringing news. Madame Gu had arrived. Master Gu had come as well. Several brothers from Madame Gu's maiden family also came. Even Gu Chengyan's maternal grandfather personally appeared. The maiden family of eldest sister-in-law was present too. I did not know what had happened before all of them gathered. Whatever the discussions were, by New Year's Eve the entire family still sat down together for the reunion dinner. Everyone was silent. Each bite seemed as difficult to swallow as lead. No one had any appetite. Eldest sister-in-law's cheeks were badly swollen. Someone had clearly struck her, though I did not know who. Only Gu Chengyan continued placing food into my bowl. I dared do little more than nod, barely even breathing loudly. The meal made my stomach hurt from tension. Afterward, Gu Chengyan and I were about to return to our courtyard when Master Gu suddenly called, "Third son's wife." I quickly answered, "Father, I am here." I glanced at Gu Chengyan. He nodded lightly. I carefully stepped forward, nervous. "Father, what instructions do you have?" Master Gu said. "I have investigated what happened a few days ago. Your eldest sister-in-law was in the wrong. I will have her apologize to you. Let us consider the matter settled after that. What do you think? What did I think? Of course I did not think it could simply be dismissed. Just as Gu Chengyan had said, had she really been bullying only me? No. She had wanted to wound him through me. If she had gained leverage over me, I would have become cautious and fearful. Could I still laugh freely and stay cheerfully beside him then? Certainly not. If I became afraid for my own life, how could I devote myself to caring for him? She was, in effect, threatening his life. For that reason, I could not forgive her. There is no need for an apology. She does not sincerely believe she was wrong anyway. Besides, she and I never had a good relationship, and we will not interact much in the future. Let us dispense with empty words. Father Third Master and I have already discussed moving out after spring begins. We will often return to visit you. You and Mother can also come stay with us for a few days and look at the flowers and herbs I grow. Master Gu fell silent. After a long while, he said, "Very well, you may establish your own residence. As long as the two of you live happily, I will be at ease." I truly did not expect Master Gu to offer Gu Chengyan a 5-room residence in the southern part of the capital. But Gu Chengyan refused. "Father, put it in Yuan's name. I may not live much longer. If I die and someone later bullies her or drives her out, she should at least have a home no one can take from her." Master's face darkened immediately. Madame Gu hurriedly said, "Then put it in Yuan's name. The residence is large. A few courtyards can be demolished to make space for flowers. It is suitable." Later, I asked Gu Chengyan why he had suddenly calculated everything so carefully. He laughed. "If I had not been stubborn, the one crying now would have been you." I thought he was right. Without Gu Chengyan forcefully protecting me, who knew what the story would have been twisted into? At first I had been wronged, but in the end I unexpectedly gained an enormous residence. From now on I could be mistress of my own household, grow flowers and rare medicinal plants, and sell them for enough money to live. I had gained far more than I lost, so I no longer wanted to dwell on it. On the second day of New Year, the second prince's consort returned to visit her maiden family. I went nowhere. I stayed with Gu Chengyan and discussed which courtyards we should demolish for flower and herb gardens. We also studied which ornamental plants had sold for high prices in the capital during the past 2 years. We could buy them cheaply from elsewhere, I could nurse them carefully, and when we resold them, there should be a profit. Gu Chengyan said he also wanted to sell calligraphy and paintings, and perhaps write several popular storybooks. I used to be proud and treated money as something vulgar and unimportant. But now I have a household to support, I said. Then write a story about a man who falls from being heaven's favored son to the very bottom, then climbs step by step back to the peak of glory. I gripped Gu Chengyan's hand. "Third Master, I believe in you. One day you will stand again and return to the highest place." He looked at me. "Everyone in this world pities me and assumes I will die young. Only you believe I can live a long time and even return to my former heights. Our third master is so good. Of course you can do it." I did not know that the second prince's consort had heard our conversation from outside the doorway. She left silently, just as quietly as she had arrived. Gu Chengyan glanced toward the door. Before we moved out, Madame Gu summoned me in front of Gu Chengyan's 2 sisters-in-law and showed me several trunks of valuables. They glittered with gold, pearls, and jade. Madame Gu said, "I intend to give these things to Yuan. Do either of you have any objections?" Second sister-in-law quickly replied, "Mother's belongings are naturally hers to give to whomever she wishes." Madame Gu turned to the eldest daughter-in-law. "You think so too?" "Yes, mother." Receiving several trunks of fine things, I smiled until my eyes nearly disappeared and thanked her. We moved out of the main Gu residence on the 18th day of the first lunar month. The plaque over our gate still read Gu residence. To outsiders, the Gu family explained that treating Chengyan's poison required a large property where I could grow medicinal plants, so we had moved out for practical reasons. The truth that I had been framed and Gu Chengyan had nearly broken with his family over it never became public. After moving into our new home, Gu Chengyan and I decided which courtyards to demolish. We even sold the beams, pillars, and roof tiles for some money. Oh, and from that point onward, I managed all the household finances. Gu Chengyan said, "You are now the mistress of the household. Large matters and small matters, large sums and small sums, everything must pass through your hands." His calligraphy and paintings sold extremely well. The manager of a local bookshop came almost every day, arriving with hope and leaving happily with a bundle of paintings and calligraphy. Gu Chengyan's storybook manuscript also progressed smoothly. The bookseller said the first printing should be at least 5,000 copies. If Gu Chengyan allowed them to use his famous name openly, they could print at least 10,000. I never counted exactly how much money Gu Chengyan earned from his art. I only knew it was a great deal, at least to me. Meanwhile, our residence was being dug up to make gardens, and people began bringing medicinal plants to sell. I could not identify them, and Qingyu recognized only some. We did not know proper prices either, so we invited an experienced physician from a pharmacy to advise us. We only wanted rare medicinal plants, especially types ordinary pharmacies did not sell. Unusual flowers and grasses were acceptable too. On the second day of the second lunar month, the traditional day when the dragon raises its head, Gu Chengyan and I trimmed each other's hair. He praised mine for being black and glossy. I praised his for being thick and full. We looked at each other and laughed, then went to a restaurant for a good meal, and bought another pile of miscellaneous things on the way home. By then I was busy every day. Besides reading and practicing calligraphy, I had to tend flowers and herbs, and I was also learning massage and acupuncture techniques. At night I watched Gu Chengyan soak his feet and then massaged his legs. Gradually my hands became stronger. My 18 scholars camellia also bloomed magnificently. Gu Chengyan's younger brother came to see it, praised it endlessly and asked to borrow it so he could show it off. I agreed, but Gu Chengyan did not. The plant currently sat in his study, so of course the decision was his. His younger brother asked, "Then may I bring people here to see it at third brother's place?" "Fine." Gu Chengyan reluctantly agreed. The result was that more than 10 people arrived. They stood around the camellia discussing every detail and even painted pictures of it. Within 2 days, the entire capital had heard that our residence possessed an 18 scholars camellia covered in 70 or 80 blooms. Flower enthusiasts came in droves. We had no choice but to move the plant into the main hall. Never in my dreams did I expect Gu Chengyan to sit at the entrance collecting fees. 10 taels per person. When he handed me the money that evening, I was stunned. More than 1,000 taels. That meant over 100 people had paid simply to look at my camellia in one day. I asked softly, "Is charging money not a little improper?" Gu Chengyan replied, "When they come, do we not need good tea and pastries to receive them? If they want to paint, not provide brushes, ink and paper? Do paints cost nothing? Maids and attendants must carry tea and pour water. If someone paints slowly, we even have to feed them a meal. We earn something, but not nearly as much as you think. In my current situation, do they still expect to come to my home, eat and drink, and pay nothing?" I blinked. Gu Chengyan had not seemed like this before, at least not when we first married. He looked at me and added, "Besides, this camellia will not remain here much longer." I did not understand what he meant. On the third day, palace servants arrived saying His Majesty wanted to view the flower. Gu Chengyan waved a hand and told them to take the camellia away. "Just like that?" I asked. "If His Majesty finds it beautiful, there will be a reward. And if he does not?" Gu Chengyan said nothing. I understood. Then there would simply be nothing. What I did not expect was for the emperor to reward me with several old camellias that had not bloomed in years, saying that if I made all of them flower, there would be a substantial reward. I asked, "What happens if I kill them instead?" Gu Chengyan said, "Once His Majesty gives them to you, they are yours. If you make them bloom, your reputation will spread throughout the realm. In the future, whenever someone's plant refuses to flower, 8 or 9 times out of 10 they will invite you to take a look. If you kill them, people will say you are a boastful fraud. Oh, so there is both opportunity and danger. Then I will simply do my best." I did not think the camellias had any fundamental problem. They were still alive despite years in pots. The containers were large and the soil looked usable. I decided to replace the soil anyway. Mix in a little powdered clean eggshell, burn some livestock bones in an iron pan, crush them, and scatter a small amount over the earth. I watered only occasionally and left the rest to fate. The 12th day of the third lunar month was my hairpin ceremony, my 15th birthday. Gu Chengyan asked whether I wanted to hold a banquet. "No, I only want to eat a bowl of longevity noodles with you. I do not want to invite the Wang family, and there is no need to trouble the Gu family with a grand celebration for me. Having third master beside me is already the best gift for my coming of age." I thought that besides wet nurse and elder brother, and now Gu Chengyan, perhaps no one else in the world would even remember the date. It was much the same with the Gu family and Gu Chengyan. At first, they had often asked about his condition. Gradually even those inquiries faded. He was still the Gu family's third Yaz master, the biological son of master and madam, yet he too could slowly be forgotten. How much more easily could they forget me, a daughter-in-law who had married in with no powerful support? As I had hoped, elder brother arrived in the capital before my coming-of-age day with wet nurse, sister-in-law, and their son. It took them some effort to find our new residence. "My young miss," wet nurse embraced me, then held me at arm's length and examined me carefully. Satisfied, she said, "You have grown taller and your complexion is much better. Wet nurse, come sit. Let us talk." Wet nurse looked around with some restraint. I whispered, "I am the mistress of this house, you can relax." "Truly?" I nodded hard. She smiled, sat down, and held my hand while telling me everything that had happened after I left and how the entire family had decided to move to the capital. "We do not need that separate estate. Just give us a small courtyard in your residence. You have affairs outside the home that need managing. Let your elder brother handle them. If there is work inside the household that I or your sister-in-law can do, assign it to us. As for that boy, we will have to trouble his aunt to help with his future. Wet nurse, we are one family. Do not speak so politely." Her smile became even brighter. "Miss, after marrying, you truly are different. Better than before, much better." Wet nurse, elder brother, sister-in-law, and my nephew had all come. I thought it was very good too. By then my medicinal garden and flower garden had taken shape. Most of the herbs were rare. Some normally survived only deep in the mountains, yet when I casually planted them beneath trees or in sheltered corners, they somehow grew very well. As for the rare unidentified plants and flowers, I made little distinction and simply planted them all. Wet nurse praised everything she saw. Even watering was only done occasionally. In the herb and flower gardens, unless we were certain something was an ordinary weed, we left it alone. We were afraid of wasting anything. What if one of those plants happened to be the medicinal catalyst Gu Chengyan needed? Because I could keep certain rare herbs alive, physicians even began bringing medicinal roots to ask me to grow them. I simply planted each one in a pot, watered enough to settle the roots, placed it under the eaves, and checked it every day. Once I was sure it had taken root, I returned it and charged 1 or 2 taels for the work. I would not go to other people's homes. I only accepted medicinal plants delivered to my door. If the owner was worried, they could leave someone to watch over it. Some truly did send an attendant to guard the plant, which was understandable when the herb might be life-saving. Others brought seeds and asked me to germinate them, promising generous payment if I succeeded. Whether others could do it, I did not know. When I planted them, however, many began sprouting within 3 to 5 days, and then grew vigorously. Once they were strong enough, I transplanted them into pots, raised them a little longer, and let their owners take them away. My coming-of-age day approached, and as expected, almost no one remembered. Apart from Gu Chengyan, wet nurse, and elder brother, there was no one. Wet nurse combed my hair. Gu Chengyan inserted the ceremonial hairpin. Sister-in-law made longevity noodles. Elder brother gave me a jade plaque carved with the god of longevity. My little nephew spoke in his childish, unclear voice and wished me long life, health, and peace. Everyone I loved was beside me. That was enough, more than enough. Wet nurse and sister-in-law prepared lunch. In the afternoon I joined them kneading dough, wrapping buns and dumplings, stir-frying several vegetables, and simmering a pot of soup. We sat together eating and laughing. Gu Chengyan seemed to eat slightly too much that day, which made me worry his stomach might become uncomfortable. At bedtime he asked, "Yuan, will you cook again tomorrow? What does third master want to eat? Today's buns and dumplings were good. If you like them, I will make them again tomorrow." I became even busier because I decided I should learn to cook properly. Soup remained the easiest. Wash the ingredients, put them in an earthen pot, and let them simmer slowly over low heat. While soup cooked, Shiyu watched the fire and I sat nearby memorizing books. It was an efficient way to do several things without neglecting any. By then, word had spread everywhere that the Gu family's third young madam was skilled at growing flowers and herbs. Physicians often came from distant places, carrying baskets of medicinal roots I had never seen. When they came, I was even willing to grow their plants for free if they would examine Gu Chengyan and take his pulse. If enough specimens survived, I only asked to keep one plant for myself. If they refused, I did not force them. But almost everyone agreed. Some physicians could even explain the nature of his poison and possible methods of treatment, and they were willing to try. Although every treatment attempt had failed, it could not be called a complete failure. He said the pain was no longer as severe as before. At least now, when he first tried to walk for a short while, it did not hurt so badly that he could barely breathe. That alone was good news. By the 8th lunar month, every available corner of our residence had been planted. We decided to buy another estate outside the city, specifically for medicinal herbs. We had earned some money during those months. It was enough to buy an estate and build a high surrounding wall. After the purchase, we renovated it, repaired the houses, and completed the wall. Then someone from the main Gu residence came to invite us back for the Mid-Autumn Festival. Thinking about it, we had been living separately for more than half a year and had never returned. They had not invited us before either. Then let us go, I said simply. We returned on the 13th day of the 8th lunar month. People in the Gu residence who had not seen me for months stared in surprise. I knew I had changed. I was taller and looked more grown. Wet nurse said I was the prettiest young wife she had ever seen. Gu Chengyan had never praised my appearance or stared at me in a daze, so I thought the Gu servants were being overly dramatic. Eldest sister-in-law still managed the household. She had not changed at all. One face in front of people, another behind their backs. Fortunately, we planned to stay only 2 or 3 days, then leave on the 16th day of the 8th lunar month for our estate. Someone had also offered to introduce us to a physician, praising him as extraordinarily skilled, perhaps even the finest miracle doctor of the age. He was expected to reach the capital around the 20th and would come directly to our estate. Whether true or false, Gu Chengyan and I kept calm. If we did not hope too much, we could not be disappointed too deeply. For that reason, we did not tell the Gu family. The 2 small courtyards assigned to us had been cleaned, but because most of our belongings had been moved away, the rooms felt empty. Gu Chengyan's study was emptier still. Seeing it, he curled his lips in a faint, mocking smile. Then he stayed with me in the back room. Sometimes we read together, sometimes he read aloud while I sat beside him doing needlework. My sewing was terrible, I could barely stitch 2 pieces of cloth together. Recently though, I had decided I wanted to make him a little brocade sachet. I imagined filling it with osmanthus blossoms, or perhaps some medicinal herbs. The travel journal he was reading was witty and interesting. Several times I became so absorbed that I stopped sewing just to listen. Eventually I abandoned needle and thread altogether, walked over, lay down beside him, and rested my head on his lap. As he read, he pulled the hairpin from my hair, loosened the knot, and ran his fingers through my long hair. Only the 2 of us were in the room. We had long grown accustomed to being alone together, and no longer needed Cu or the others constantly attending us. They could rest in their rooms or go to the Gu garden to gather osmanthus flowers. We let them do as they pleased. Gu Chengyan held his teacup in one hand and stroked my hair with the other, while I lay half in his arms and tried reading the travel journal aloud to him. The book was excellent, but there were many difficult characters I still did not know. When Gu Chengyan read, he knew how to soften or skip the more suggestive passages. When I read, however, I could somehow turn even a passionate scene between lovers into something as pure as spring water. Gu Chengyan laughed and I began teasing him in return. That was exactly when second sister-in-law arrived. She stood in the doorway, eyes wide and mouth open, utterly shocked to see Gu Chengyan and me fooling around like an affectionate couple. My clothes were still neat but all my hair had fallen loose. Oh. It seems I have come at the wrong time. Second sister-in-law, do not go, wait for me. I sprang up barefoot and hurried to stop her. Gu Chengyan calmly rose, bent down to pick up my shoes from the floor, came over, crouched and put them on my feet. We were already used to such things, but for some reason I suddenly blushed. Gu Chengyan bowed politely. Greetings, second sister-in-law. Please speak with Yuan. I will go to the front courtyard. Go ahead, third brother. The moment he left, second sister-in-law teased me. I never expected you and third brother to be so affectionate, I replied. Third master is the best husband in the world. Wet nurse told me that. She said no one in the world could be a better husband, so naturally he is the best husband for me too. Second sister-in-law laughed and continued chatting in circles. I could not tell what she truly wanted. I was not exceptionally clever, but these days I had listened to Gu Chengyan read many books and explained the hidden meanings behind characters' words and behavior. I could tell second sister-in-law had not come simply to gossip. If she would not speak plainly, I would. On what grounds should anyone mistreat third master? He is also master and madam's biological son. Even if he can no longer bring glory to the family, he has never brought disgrace to it. Second sister-in-law, if you have something to say it directly. The study in the front courtyard is empty. Third master has nowhere to sit. I need to go bring him back. Second sister-in-law froze. You mean there is nothing left in third brother's courtyard? There are furnishings in some rooms, but his front study is empty. We moved some things when we left, but not everything. This time, when we came back, it was stripped bare. My room is nearly the same, empty everywhere. Where did those things go? You did not take them all before. I do not know. Third sister-in-law, come with me. Let us look. All right. When we reached the front courtyard, Gu Chengyan had pulled out an armchair and was sitting under the eaves with his eyes closed, half dozing. Hearing footsteps, he opened his eyes and looked at us. With one glance, he understood why second sister-in-law had come. He looked at me and sighed helplessly. Second sister-in-law, there is no need to inspect anything. Please go back. Third brother, this is not a major matter. We are staying only 2 days. After that we leave. Next time, we may not even return for New Year. I thought Gu Chengyan did not mean may not. He meant we definitely would not. He would surely take me somewhere else and then find one excuse after another not to return. Second sister-in-law finally said, "Then I will go." Third sister-in-law, "I will speak with you another day." All right. After she left, Gu Chengyan pinched my nose. You did not need to tell her. I just feel sorry for third master. Why should they treat you like this? When you could bring glory to the Gu family, every one of them praised and treasured you. Now you are only temporarily down on your luck. And suddenly they act this way, he asked. The Wang family treated you badly too. I never saw you this angry or wronged over them. It is not the same. How is it different? I thought carefully before answering. They never enjoyed any glory that I brought them. They never benefited from anything I gave. They never received anything from me. They did not love me, and I did not love them. When they treated me badly, I never shamelessly demanded that they love me anyway. I raised my face to Gu Chengyan. Third master, you and I are different. After a long silence, he sighed. From the day you came to my side, I stopped caring so much. That meant before me he had cared. He had noticed every change in his parents and brothers. The pain at first, then numbsomeness, then eventually giving up. No wonder he had agreed to marry me after speaking with me that first day. He had been saving me, but also saving himself. I wrapped both arms around his waist and choked out, Third master, I will always stay beside you. Do not cry. I am not crying. Our Yuan does not cry. Gu Chengyan gently patted my shoulder. I sniffed, rubbed my face against his clothes, and forced my tears back. Third master, let us go home and keep reading. We will not think about unhappy things. Those people are blind. One day our third master will become famous throughout the realm again, and return in glory right in front of them. Gu Chengyan smiled. Yuan has very grand ambitions. Later Madame Gu dealt with the matter by giving me gold, silver, jewelry, shops, farmland, and other property in front of everyone in the family. As for why she did it, I thought eldest sister-in-law understood perfectly. Madame Gu told her eldest son, do not feel wronged because you are the eldest and did not receive the largest share of your mother's property. Do you remember why third brother became like this? Years ago he was poisoned after taking a hidden arrow meant for you. As a mother, I cannot pretend I have ever treated every child exactly the same. But I have never favored one beyond all reason either. Look at what you have done these past years. Look at the wife you defend. What has she done? Has a dog eaten your conscience? Gu Chengyan's eldest brother dropped to his knees with a thud and slapped his own face repeatedly. Mother, it was my fault. I have been unfilial. I suddenly found the whole scene tiresome. They knew they were wrong, yet they never truly changed. Madame Gu only became furious after things had already happened. Then she compensated Gu Chengyan. But Gu Chengyan was not a child who could be soothed by gifts and parental coaxing. He was a grown man, intelligent and thoughtful. If I could not understand what Madame Gu wanted, surely he did. And throughout it all, Master Gu still said almost nothing. They felt they loved their third son, yet could not bear to truly discipline their eldest son, who would one day carry the family. Nor could they bring themselves to deal firmly with that foolish eldest daughter-in-law. They wanted everything at once. So Gu Chengyan simply took my hand and quietly left. Whether they fought or shouted behind us, he no longer wanted anything to do with it. I asked him, should we accept the things mother gave us? Of course. Why not? Take them, and live comfortably. There is no need to pinch every coin. If we refuse, the property will simply fall into someone else's hands. I nodded vigorously. That was exactly what I thought too. Early on the 16th, we packed and went to bid farewell to his parents. Madame Gu's eyes were red. Master Gu looked tired too, probably from sleeping badly. Take care of yourselves outside. If you lack money, send someone back. Madame Gu held Gu Chengyan's hand and nearly cried. Chengyan, all of this happened because mother was careless, he replied. As long as father and mother remain healthy, Yuan and I can live outside without worry. Madame Gu asked, what about your birthday? Gu Chengyan said, when the day comes, Yuan can cook me a bowl of longevity noodles. All right, I said. He added, her cooking has improved a great deal. Improved? I still could not shape steamed buns properly, much less make beautiful dumplings. I often seasoned fillings incorrectly. Every time I entered the kitchen, there were a dozen people helping and doing all the important parts for me. But since Gu Chengyan said so, I naturally went along with it. Mother, do not worry, I will take good care of him. I knew Gu Chengyan's birthday fell near the end of the 8th lunar month, and I was more than willing to celebrate it. I had worried that returning to the Gu residence would leave him depressed. Instead, once we left again, He resumed writing poetry, painting, calligraphy, and reading storybooks as usual. When he was in a particularly good mood, he even hummed a few lines of song. So all my worrying had been unnecessary. The so-called miracle physician was only around 40 or 50. He did not look very old, but neither was he young. He arrived 2 days earlier than expected. Several medicinal plants he brought already had wilted leaves. I had never seen any of them. Let me take them and plant them first. The physician, however, said he wanted to watch me do it. There was nothing impressive to see. Growing medicinal plants was simple for me. I took a pot, added soil, set in the root, watered a little, and placed the pot beneath a tree. Finished, I said. Finished? He asked in astonishment. I nodded. Yes. In 2 or 3 days it should recover. He pursed his lips, then examined Gu Chengyan's pulse. He held the left wrist for a while, changed to the right, then switched back and forth several times. He still said nothing about whether the poison could be cured. Instead, he suddenly asked an unrelated question. Madam, would you be willing to follow me to Yunnan and help me grow medicinal plants? I shook my head. Wherever my husband is, I stay with him. What if I can cure your husband? Gu Chengyan and I looked at each other. There was joy in our eyes, but suspicion too. I truly did not trust this man yet. Is helping you keep those few plants alive not enough? Not even close. My wife followed me into the mountains to gather herbs and was poisoned. The plants I brought are both poison and antidote. When they bloom, the pollen must be used as the catalyst to neutralize the deadly poison in your husband's body. But the flowers are extremely small, and each bloom produces only a tiny amount of pollen. The plant is also exceptionally difficult to find and even harder to cultivate. I heard that third young Madame Gu in the capital has extraordinary skill with flowers and herbs, so I had people investigate. I did not fully believe the stories, which is why I came personally. Madame Gu, both your husband and my wife need antidotes. To tell the truth, my knowledge of poisons is not even 1/10 of hers. If you two are willing to follow me to Yunnan, I am certain I can cure your husband within 1 year. Was I tempted? Of course. Yet I still did not fully trust him. To my surprise, Gu Chengyan said, we will go with you. I stared. Already decided? Do we not need to think about it? Yuan, we will go. He repeated it with certainty. I had no reason to refuse. All right, then we go. I asked the physician to walk through our garden and see whether any of our medicinal plants could be useful either for Gu Chengyan's poison or for his wife. After examining everything, he said solemnly, among the plants here, there are already enough ingredients to prepare most of Third Master Gu's antidote. Gu Chengyan and I immediately gripped each other's hands, our hearts overflowing with joy. The physician continued, I can prepare the first course of antidote now and give you the formula. If I do so, will you still come with me? Of course. Whether Third Master or I, we keep our word. Once we promise something, we do not go back on it. As I said, whatever herbs you need, dig them up and take them. We will bring them with us, I added. There is no need to delay. Let us leave soon. The earlier we reach Yunnan, the earlier I can begin growing the medicine, and the earlier your wife can receive her antidote. The possibility that Gu Chengyan could truly be cured was the most important thing in the world to us. Once we knew there was a real chance, what difference did leaving a few days earlier or later make? The physician said, my valley has many medicinal plants, though in rarity they cannot compare with your garden. Let me dig up some of these to take home. When we reach my medicine garden, if you like anything there, you may take it freely as well. He immediately began digging. Plants that required special preparation were processed first. Those that did not were simply thrown into baskets, and we prepared to leave. Gu Chengyan did not allow anyone to tell the main Gu family that his poison might be curable. If the treatment failed, he did not want everyone to celebrate prematurely and then be disappointed. I also instructed the older servants and wet nurse Zhao not to let the news escape. We would speak of it only after returning cured. Wet nurse wanted elder brother to accompany us, but I refused. We needed a reliable man at home to handle affairs while we were away. Besides, apart from Qingye, Gu Chengyan would bring more than 10 trusted guards and attendants, all highly skilled in martial arts. Among my maids, I brought only Siye. I had hands and feet and could do many things myself. If we truly needed more servants, we could buy or hire them later. The journey might last 1.5 years. It might last 3 years, perhaps even 5. We had decided not to tell the Gu family the truth about the possible cure, but we still had to give them some reason for our long absence. I asked Qingyu to report that we were traveling for leisure. After all, they had already given up hope for Gu Chengyan. As for the Wang family, after thinking it over, I decided I should meet second aunt once. She was the only person in that family who had treated me kindly. I did not go to her residence. Instead, I invited her to meet me at a tea house. Second aunt smiled warmly when she saw me. Seeing that you are living well puts my heart at ease. After we talked for a while, she mentioned the Wang family. Wang Yuxin had married the third prince as a secondary consort. The third prince? I blinked. So the grand marrying upward everyone had spoken of had actually meant becoming a concubine. That was unexpected. Your father has been demoted. The Wang family has not been doing well lately. Do you want to go back and see them? Second aunt, I will not. Besides, I am about to travel far away. If everything goes quickly, I may return in a year and a half. It may take 3 years, perhaps even 5. When they gave birth to me, they never asked whether I wanted to be their daughter. They threw me onto a country estate and kept me there for 10 years without asking after me or treating me kindly. I obeyed and married as they wished. I consider the debt of birth and upbringing fully repaid. I no longer have any relationship with the Wang family. Perhaps I inherited their coldness and lack of sentiment, so second aunt does not need to persuade me. I asked to meet today because I wanted to say farewell. I hope the years ahead bring you peace and smooth fortune, with nothing to trouble your heart. Second aunt's eyes reddened. May Yuan also have a smooth journey and see every wish fulfilled. The wish closest to my heart was for Gu Chengyan to regain his health and live a long life, so her blessing touched me deeply. Thank you, second aunt. On the day we departed, the weather was beautiful, warm sunlight filling the road. I asked Gu Chengyan, when we return it will be like beginning a new life. How do you feel? He squeezed my hand. Heaven will not treat us unfairly. Now I finally understand why grandfather arranged that engagement with the Wang family long ago, and said that no matter which daughter it ultimately was, I should not judge too quickly. He told me to wait until the right time. When you appeared before me, you were the girl fate had chosen for me. I did not understand then. Now I do. My greatest obstacle was my own despair. My destined person is you, Yuan. Sweet words, but I liked them very much. I did not know what our departure meant to the Gu family or the Wang family. To us it meant hope and a new beginning. Still, I feared the dangers of the road and the wickedness people could hide. After discussing it with Gu Chengyan, we bought a large amount of merchandise that was not especially valuable individually but filled many carts. We then hired armed escorts to protect the caravan. Officially, we were transporting goods for trade and profit. In truth, the cargo was merely a reason to hire more protection. I secretly met the leaders of 2 escort groups and told them that if anything happened, they must protect Third Master first. What I did not know was that Gu Chengyan separately met them too, secretly gave them additional money, and ordered that if danger came, they were to protect me first. People often say those in the same profession become rivals, but these escort guards got along remarkably well. There was no quarreling, much less fighting. After traveling with us for only 1 day, the miracle physician could no longer bear our slow pace. You two may take your time. This old man will go ahead. I knew he must be worried about his wife. Please go ahead, Physician Liao. Once he left, we no longer had to follow the route he had chosen. We detoured through other towns, sold the goods we had brought, and exchanged them for different merchandise. Unexpectedly, we made a considerable profit. After discussing it, Gu Chengyan and I decided to give half of the profit to the escort guards, as thanks for taking the longer road with us. One guard laughed. Thank you, Third Master. After this trip, my family can have a warm and plentiful new year. I want to buy Mother a new padded coat and 2 pairs of padded shoes. Someone else asked, and what will you do with the rest? Save it to marry a wife. All the guards burst out laughing. Gu Chengyan and I laughed too. That was life. Women hoped to marry good husbands. Men hoped to marry good wives. Everyone wanted a home and kept working toward it. The farther we traveled, the more careful and discreet we had to be. Besides the 2 escort agencies we had already hired, Gu Chengyan had Qingyu contact a 3rd local agency. Local escorts knew best which mountains contained bandits and which routes passed through safely. Perhaps some had arrangements with the bandits, we did not care. What mattered was spending money to buy peace and reaching southern Yunnan safely, especially because Gu Chengyan still had difficulty moving. We sewed banknotes into our clothes and agreed in advance on how to find each other if we were separated. He told me, if anything happens, protecting your life comes first. I understood exactly what he meant. If I ever had to choose between chastity and survival, I was to choose survival. He did not need to remind me. I already knew what I would do. We did spend some money buying safe passage past mountain bandits, but in exchange we reached southern Yunnan without serious trouble. The region was known for poisonous miasma. Physician Liao sent someone to wait for us at the city gate. While we finished selling our remaining goods, Qingyu quietly investigated the physician's identity, reputation, and character. The investigation confirmed that such a man truly existed and that his reputation was good. Ordinary villagers and wealthy merchants alike sought him for treatment. Once our goods were sold, the escort guards had to return toward the capital. I bought local Yunnan specialties for them to carry back. Some for the Gu family, some for wet nurse and the family at home, and a small portion for second aunt. The guards had already accepted another escort job for the return route, so they would still earn well from the journey. The miracle physician's surname was Liao. He was 43. His wife was only in her early 30s, beautiful as a flower and gentle, modest and mild in temperament. Yet this seemingly soft woman was exceptionally skilled with poisons. They raised many venomous snakes and scorpions in separate buildings, and our living quarters were deliberately placed far away. The number of medicinal plants I was asked to grow quickly increased from one kind to several, then more than 10, and eventually dozens. Gu Chengyan also began the process of detoxification. It was agonizing, his face twisted with pain and sweat soaked through his clothes. Dark blood flowed from the wounds on his legs, and bowl after bowl of foul-smelling, bitter medicine was forced into his body. He always gripped the arms of his chair so tightly that on several occasions he cracked them from the pain. After each treatment, he liked me to cook something for him. Whether porridge, noodles, or medicinal soup, he would lazily ask me to feed him. He even wanted me to hum him to sleep. Sometimes he woke with a start just to make sure I was still beside him. Overall, however, he steadily improved. His legs were no longer numb with that bone-deep cold. By winter, he could walk around the room for the time it took an incense stick to burn. Physician Lausa said, by the 4th or 5th month next year, he should recover completely. The reason he is recovering this quickly is that he was well cared for physically and emotionally before treatment. Gu Chengyan's storybook was already more than half finished. Every sentence had been polished and weighed carefully. The characters were vivid enough that readers could feel deeply invested in their loves, grievances, gratitude, and hatred. There were a master and his wife who were fickle and pragmatic, an elder disciple who repaid kindness with betrayal, dark-hearted fellow disciples, and all kinds of monsters and dangers along the path of cultivation. Everyone else thought only of killing and seizing treasures. Only the hero's wife remained beside him, cultivating with him, and protecting him as they traveled the same road. In the story, cultivation could prolong life and eventually lead to immortality. The first volume followed the path toward immortality. The second would tell what happened after reaching it. It was a story of falling from the highest peak into the mud, then climbing from the mud back to the summit. I knew Gu Chengyan had used the book to speak about his parents, brothers, relatives, and friends. And the one beautiful thing he left untouched in his heart was me. The person who never abandoned him and always believed he would recover. It was also because I knew how to grow medicinal plants that we had met physician Liao and his wife. Gu Chengyan looked bright and graceful on the surface, like clear moonlight and fresh wind, but in truth he remembered every injury and could be very calculating. Yet no gold is perfectly pure, and no person is flawless. Was I not also someone who remembered grudges, calculated carefully, and could be cold and unsentimental? Perhaps the old saying was right. Birds of a feather flock together. That year in southern Yunnan was our first New Year there, so we followed local customs. People smoked great quantities of meat. We learned to stuff sausages and ate fiery hot pot so spicy that it numbed the tongue. Gu Chengyan could not eat such food yet, while I loved it from the first bite, so we often cooked 2 pots. I ate my spicy one while he drank from his mild broth. Occasionally he stole 1 bite from my hot pot, turned scarlet, and declared solemnly, "It has a very distinctive flavor." I thought that once his poison was fully removed and his body stronger, he would surely learn to like spicy hot pot. Another New Year came. I was nearly 16 and still had not begun menstruating. Madame Liao took my pulse and said I was completely healthy and that there was no need to force nature. So when my first period finally came, Gu Chengyan reacted as if the sky had collapsed. He grabbed me in alarm and shouted, "Someone, call the physician! Call the physician!" I was still half asleep and had no idea why he was panicking. I only felt dampness below. His hand was covered in blood. "Third master, are you hurt?" "It is you." I stared blankly, then finally understood. "Oh, my period has started." I felt terribly embarrassed. Gu Chengyan, however, visibly relaxed. With a dark expression, he went to wash his hands, then returned looking equally grim. After I cleaned myself and came out, he softened his voice. "Does your stomach hurt? Tomorrow I will ask physician Liao what you should avoid. I will avoid raw, cold, and greasy things and rest properly. It does not hurt badly, It just feels a little heavy and uncomfortable below. It will pass in a few days. Gu Chengyan pulled me into his arms and sighed. You truly frightened me just now. Everything was fine, and suddenly my hand was covered in blood. I was terrified. It was my fault for not preparing properly. How could that be your fault? This is your first time too, and you are still young. In truth, I was not that young anymore. I was 16. Some girls my age were probably already mothers. Yet Gu Chengyan and I still had not consummated our marriage. He always thought I was too young. I was perfectly willing to let him keep thinking so. His body had not fully recovered either. Waiting another year and a half before consummating our marriage would do no harm. We both wanted what was best for the other, though each of us had our own private calculations. My wet nurse had cared for me very carefully during my childhood. My few difficult months after returning to the Wang family had also passed quickly. After marrying Gu Chengyan, my life became even freer and happier, and my body grew stronger. So once my first period ended, I was full of energy again and went back to helping Madame Liao grow medicinal plants she had gathered from everywhere. She did not look like someone who had been poisoned at all. Every day she seemed cheerful and content, and she even asked whether I wanted to study medicine and poison-making under her. I immediately shook my head. Knowing medicinal herbs and understanding some of their properties was enough for me. My days were already too full to add another field of study. By the 6th lunar month, Gu Chengyan's poison was completely removed. Physician Liao said that as long as he took restorative medicine and continued recuperating for another year and a half, he would become fully healthy. I was so happy that I cried. Gu Chengyan gently wiped the tears from my face and asked whether I wanted to return to the capital. I did not particularly want to. Life in southern Yunnan was still safety, while returning meant many more rules, so we decided to remain there until the following spring. First, he could strengthen his body. Second, he could continue writing the second volume of his storybook. Next year I will also visit several reclusive great scholars, Gu Chengyan said. After walking through officialdom and falling from the pedestal, I have realized that serving as an official is not the only path in life. His first storybook soon circulated everywhere. Once readers learned that Gu Chengyan himself had written it, the work became famous throughout the country in a very short time. Countless people waited for the second volume. The bookseller eventually sent someone all the way to southern Yunnan, saying that letters from readers had filled several rooms and asking when Gu Chengyan could publish the continuation. Just as importantly, he wanted to discuss the profit share, because the book had become enormously successful. Students everywhere owned a copy. Anyone who had not read it felt embarrassed standing among their peers. Even many students who had failed the imperial examinations were encouraged by the story and decided to study hard for another 3 years and try again at the next examination. Everywhere people discussed Gu Chengyan and praised him. Naturally, some said he had also been fortunate to marry a good wife, and that this was what it meant for husband and wife to share one another's glory. Physician Liao came every day asking when the second volume would be finished. Aside from me and Qingyou, he was among the first to know what happened next, and he was unbearably smug about it. Somehow our location eventually leaked. People began arriving in southern Yunnan with expensive gifts and calling cards, requesting an audience with Gu Chengyan. He refused everyone. No matter who came, he would not meet them, and he accepted no gifts. With the poison gone, he had begun practicing with a sword again. He had always known martial arts and had once been an excellent rider, but the poison forced him to abandon everything. Starting again was extremely difficult. He gritted his teeth and persisted, and little by little his body remembered. His easy, elegant movements and tall, graceful bearing were enough to make people stare. More and more women began sending invitations, their carriages lining up outside our residence, each visitor trailing perfume. Cu became furious. Madam, do you feel nothing? They are all staring at our third master. Are you not angry? Why should I be angry? If Gu Chengyan ever wants to abandon me, I will not cling to him. It is not as though I cannot live without him. Who was it who taught me from the beginning that a woman should be self-reliant, respect herself, and cherish herself? Before loving him, I must love myself. If he loves me and treats me well, naturally I will love him and treat him well. If his heart changes, I will withdraw my feelings without hesitation. I know how to grow medicinal herbs. The world is vast. There will always be somewhere I can live. I am no longer Wang Yuan, the girl imprisoned in a remote estate. People speak of a phoenix rising from the ashes. I cannot compare myself to a phoenix, but I too have grown. I can read. I recognize medicinal plants and know how to cultivate flowers and herbs. I can cook simple meals and even do a little sewing. I am no less than anyone else. If those women have their eyes on Gu Chengyan, it proves they have good judgment. He has always been outstanding. Of course, I will not personally invite trouble by bringing some group of so-called elder and younger sisters into my own household. I ignored every invitation sent to me and met none of those people either. To my surprise, Gu Chengyan was more eager to leave than I was. We should go. A wife follows her husband, so if he said we should leave, then we would leave. He wanted to visit reclusive scholars. I wanted to taste food across the country and learn the customs of different regions. If he wished to move forward and climb higher, how could I remain in place? At an age meant for striving, one should not sit around enjoying old achievements, much less become a frog at the bottom of a well and merely pass the days. I knew some people said I had extraordinary luck and had risen in status only because I married Gu Chengyan. Others said I must have cultivated good fortune over several lifetimes. Such words came from jealousy. Unable to do anything to me, they used sharp tongues instead. I had no intention of arguing with people like that, much less allowing their words to hurt me. The man they desired, but could not obtain, slept beside me every night, loved me and indulged me. I could afford to be generous. Perhaps I was too generous, because Gu Chengyan often became sulky, feeling that I did not care about him enough. He even feared that if I ever truly became jealous, I might decide I no longer wanted him. People said women should observe the traditional 3 obediences and 4 virtues. He never forced any such rules upon me, but he held himself to strict standards. He rarely spoke to other young women, never stayed alone with one, and never even showed unnecessary tenderness toward anyone else. To others, he always wore a cool, composed expression. Gradually those people understood that Gu Chengyan was an iron wall. He simply gave no one a chance to warm or melt his heart. The Gu family seemed to realize something similar. Gu Chengyan was no longer the man he had once been. He no longer considered the rise and fall of the Gu clan his personal responsibility. In fact, he barely wanted to return to the capital. He took me to visit one great scholar, bought a house nearby, and stayed for a year and a half. Then he moved us near another reclusive scholar, bought another house, and remained there for 3 to 5 years. He even sent people to bring wet nurse, elder brother, and the others to live near us. If wet nurse Zhao had not said she wanted to remain in the capital, she too would probably have been brought to our side. The Gu family sent many letters asking him to return to the capital. He always refused on the grounds that his health was poor. Poor health? Only a ghost would believe that. From the night of my 17th birthday, after we finally consummated our marriage, he tormented me several times every month until I felt half alive and half dead. I also discovered that he was far more jealous than anyone imagined. If I went out for half a day and returned late, he would say nothing aloud, but that night I could forget about getting peaceful sleep. What was so bad about that? I knew he did not want to return to the capital, and I understood why the Gu family kept urging him to come back. His reputation had become too great. After his first storybook became a bestseller, he wrote another about a poor scholar who, through study and examinations, climbed step by step toward the highest point of his life. It gave hope to countless people born into poor families. Now he was writing a third story about an ordinary, insignificant man who became a general, defended the frontier, and protected the country. When news spread that members of the Wang family had been imprisoned, someone deliberately brought the information to me. By then I was 20 years old and 4 months pregnant. Gu Chengyan looked at me with some concern. Yuan, I smiled. I am fine. Truly, I stopped thinking about the Wang family a long time ago. Every day I am busy reading, studying, growing flowers and medicinal plants, and at night I still have to deal with Gu Chengyan. Where would I find time to remember people who are no longer important? He asked. What do you intend to do? I thought for a moment. Let us return to the capital once. If they are sentenced to death, I will see them one final time and consider the faint bond of kinship in this life complete. If they are exiled, I will give them some money and count it as repaying the debt of birth and upbringing. If they are reduced to commoners, I will also give them a little money. After that, there will be no further contact. The most important person, however, was second aunt. A debt of human kindness was truly the hardest debt to repay. Gu Chengyan also needed to return to the capital eventually. He could not avoid the Gu family forever, especially when he had done nothing wrong. So we traveled back slowly. The Wang family's crimes were serious. Most importantly, the third prince had actually plotted to force the emperor's abdication and rebel. Wang Yuxin was his secondary consort. How could the Wang family possibly be completely innocent? Clearly they could not. Whether second uncle had participated, I did not know. It took us a month and a half to reach the capital. With no better choice, we went directly to the main Gu residence. And this proved something. When you have enough ability, even your family treats you differently. Madame Gu immediately took my hand, eyes red. It is good that you are back. Now that you are home, do not go anywhere again. How can the outside compare with home? You are pregnant too. The best imperial physicians and midwives are all in the capital. Mother will arrange everything carefully. Your residence is cleaned every few days. I personally trained the maids and older servants. Later, I will give you all their indenture contracts. If any are unsuitable, sell them. It is hard to be harsh to someone who greets you with a smile. Madame Gu had never personally wronged me, so I replied, "Thank you, mother." She smiled. "We are family. Why speak so formally?" Then she looked toward Gu Chengyan, who sat not far away with his brothers. Tears immediately filled her eyes, though she quickly wiped them away. She tightened her grip on my hand. "Nearly 5 months now. Have you felt unwell anywhere? Are you craving anything? Has the baby caused trouble?" I ate well throughout the journey. The baby has been very well behaved and has not troubled me at all. A very sensible child. Eldest sister-in-law sat nearby as if needles were under her, shifting and twisting every few moments. Second sister-in-law kept a pleasant smile and quietly listened to Madame Gu and me. Gu Chengyan turned his head toward me, and I looked back. He immediately rose, came straight over and asked, "Are you tired? Shall I take you back to rest?" "I am not tired. If I become tired, I will tell mother." In truth, everyone in the Gu family knew Gu Chengyan no longer held much attachment to the clan. Being emotionally abandoned after he was poisoned was the first reason. Eldest sister-in-law framing me without receiving meaningful punishment was the second. His study being stripped empty and his front courtyard left bare was the third. The fourth was that after we left the capital, they barely asked after us. Still, people must keep moving forward and looking ahead. There was no reason to drown forever in old bitterness and pain. It was not worth it. This time our courtyard had been cleaned until everything shone. Nothing was missing and every detail had been arranged carefully. I sent Shiyu to inspect the front courtyard. She returned saying the study was full of books, brushes, ink, paper, and inkstones. Every ornament was high quality and elegantly chosen. I clicked my tongue twice. Gu Chengyan later came back and told me what had happened to the Wang family. The third prince had been reduced to a commoner and confined at the imperial mausoleum. Others involved in the conspiracy were sentenced to exile at the frontier. Considering the crimes, this was already imperial mercy. Then when they depart, let us go see them once. The Wang family left the capital in the 10th lunar month. Coincidentally, it was the same date on which I had married years ago. 7 months pregnant, I met them outside the city. Madame Wang, once so proud and imposing, now had a head full of white hair. She looked exhausted and aged. At first she did not recognize me. When she finally did, she muttered repeatedly, "Wrong. I was wrong." Master Wang's eyes were red. I handed him a money pouch. There is some silver inside and a banknote for 1,000 taels. Consider it payment for the food I ate during the time I lived in the Wang residence. Master Wang opened his mouth and accepted the pouch with trembling hands. He wanted to say something, but I had no desire to hear it. I walked directly to second aunt. She remained remarkably calm when she saw me, though joy appeared on her face. "Yuan, second aunt, I prepared medicinal pills for you. They are in the carriage over there, along with padded clothes, bedding, and some small necessities. The driver knows a little medicine and martial arts. He will take care of everyone on the road. I have also arranged matters with the escorting officers. You may take sister-in-law, the younger girls, and the children in the carriage. Once you reach the place of exile, I have prepared some silver. Spend it when necessary. Do not be too frugal. If the emperor grants a general amnesty one day, you may all be able to return. This is all I can do. I cannot help beyond this." Second aunt cried continuously. You child, I said softly. "Second aunt, have a safe journey." She nodded. Gu Chengyan supported me into our carriage to go home. Behind us, Madame Wang kept calling my name. "Yuan, Yuan!" I did not turn back or look at her. My heart did not even ripple. Perhaps I truly was cold and unsentimental. Gu Chengyan wrapped his arms around me. "You have me. You have our child. I will never bully you. Let us go home." I leaned against him and nodded hard. "Let us go home." The carriage swayed slowly along the road. I lifted the curtain. The weather outside was beautiful, just like the day I had married him. Back then he had chosen me firmly, and I had chosen him just as firmly. On this long road of life, we had relied on each other and endured everything together. There were still many, many years ahead of us, and we would continue living this way. If he did not leave me, I would never abandon him. Sometimes the husband could lead and the wife follow. Sometimes the wife could lead and the husband follow. We were a family, but we were also two independent people. I loved him, and he loved me. As long as that remained true, happiness would remain with us.